and Nick.
Welcome to That Superhero Thing podcast, where we discuss the latest superhero and comic book movies and TV shows. I'm your host, Nick, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Anthony.
Hello.
Hiya, you alright?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. How are you?
I'm good. We're in the I don't know what to call it. We're in that phase now where we've got no MCU, and I'm a little bit lost. I don't know what to do with myself. It's like we got to Friday and we had Invincible obviously to watch, but it was like I know we had Assembled as well, so we'll go through that. But it's like I don't know what I'm gonna do next week because we've not got any Invincible or Assembled or MCU, and it's just like what's going to be the point of the Friday? What am I going to watch when I come home? Mighty Ducks. We've still got Mighty Ducks. We've got Mighty Ducks on Disney+.
I've never seen that.
You've seen the original films?
Nope.
You've never seen the original films? Oh, we're gonna get hate. We're gonna get hate mail, Anthony. We're gonna get hate mail.
So sorry.
Well, that's not good. You have to watch them. If there
I
were
think I think at this point people aren't going to be surprised.
no one's surprised. No one's surprised. I'm not. I don't know why I'm surprised that you've not seen it. To be fair, yeah. If it was do you know what? If only it was about superheroes and we could watch them. We could watch them and review them for this. Maybe we should do like a bonus episode at some point or something like
do you know?
that.
Do you want to hear my moment of stupidity?
What?
Until about 5 years ago, I thought the Mighty Ducks was about Louie, Huey, and Dewey.
That's just amazing. That is the best thing. That is the best thing ever. Thank you, Anthony. That is going to be that is the top moment of the podcast. That is it.
Honestly, I genuinely thought it was about
brilliant.
them with their Uncle Scrooge, and I thought it was something to do with that, and then I couldn't be more wrong if I tried.
You couldn't be more wrong, no, to be perfectly honest. I was wondering where you were going, but it was better than I could have ever thought. It was 100% better. Right, so we have got quite a bit. I know I always say that, but we have got quite a bit because we've got news. There's not been that much news this week, but we've got the bits of news that did come out. We've got the Assembled, Falcon The Winter Soldier Assembled, which is the behind the scenes, so we'll go through that. And then we've got loads to do on Invincible because we are going to do a full season recap and wrap up, shall we call it. So we thought, because I don't think everyone's seen Invincible, so what we're going to do is we will do a non-spoiler review first, and then if you like the sound of it, you can go and watch it, and then you can come back and you can listen to the spoiler review where we break down the episodes and tell you what we thought of Invincible and whether we're excited for what's to come. News-wise, though, we've got Justice League, because there's always Justice League news. We've got, even though it's been months since it came out, we've got some Green Lantern news. We're going to talk about Spider-Man, No Way Home. Some rumours about that. It's not going well this so far, is it? We've got we got Hawkeye, we've got Assembled, as we said, and then we're talking about Invincible. What we'll do, I didn't mention it last week, but we did do it. But as always, we will put timestamps in the description. So if you want to skip past the news, the assembled breakdown, non-spoiler review of Invincible, wherever you want to skip to, even right to the end, you can do that if you want to. Listen to some of it though, because it'll be good, maybe. Spoilers, obviously, for anything we talk about, potentially. As I said, we will do non-spoilers, and we'll let you know when we're going to start doing spoilers on Invincible. But there will be spoilers for other things, and as we said, like speculation in the news. Some of the news is rumours, so we could potentially ruin future films for you. We're probably not, because we're always wrong, but we might do. As we said, if you are enjoying the show, thank you very much for listening. It mean a lot to us if you could leave us a 5-star review on Apple or wherever you listen to podcasts. That'd be great. Again, don't give us bad ones. We can't take it. I've had a rough week. No bad reviews this week. We're tired. It's been a long week. So news then. We'll start off with DC news as we always do. We had Michael B. Jordan was doing some interviews this week because he's just released a new movie on Amazon Prime. I think it's called Without Remorse. I'm not seeing it yet, but it's got really good reviews. He did an interview with Jake's Takes about rumours that he's up for this new Superman reboot by J.J. Abrams. He said, I appreciate people that think about me in that type of way for these roles. I don't really have anything more to kind of give on that other than it's just flattering and I appreciate it. What do you think of that? Do you not think if he wasn't up for it, he'd have just said no?
I think he should become a politician.
It is a very like politics.
It's a very no answer, isn't it?
It is, but do you not think you'd think if he was just 100% not up for it and hadn't been contacted, he'd have just said no, I don't know what you're talking about. Even if he was, I think the fact that he said that is just to get people. I mean, it's good because it's got people speculating, it's giving us something to talk about on the podcast. But it's I read that as maybe he's not got the part or anything, but I would take that as he's in some sort of talks. Sort of talks for it. Bit more DC news. This is the best. This is the weirdest news all week. It's Justice League because, as we said, we've got to get some Justice League in there. Now, I hope you've not heard this news, and I'll just take you through. I'll take you through it bit by bit. So, This week on YouTube, on the Warner Brothers YouTube channel, they have released. Warner Brothers have released a new trailer in 4K for Justice League. What would you think of that first? As the first part of the news? That they've released a new trailer for Justice League.
Bit late.
Yeah, I thought that. Bit late because it's been out for 6 weeks, something like that. Yeah. Why would you do that? It's not for the Snyder Cut. It's for the original Whedon version. They've released a 4K trailer for the Whedon Cut on their YouTube channel. Exactly. Except what they've done is, all the bits in the trailer where Henry Cavill's got his wibbly wobbly lips because they've CG'd out the mustache. They've put in the Zack Snyder shots, and then they've released this trailer. It has not gone down well, as you would expect. People obviously because it's the Joss Whedon version. People are saying it's tone deaf. It's ludicrously idiotic, somebody said. And as of Thursday, it had 610 likes and over 6,500 dislikes on YouTube. Not really surprising, to be fair. What were they thinking?
Warner Brothers, they've just had this really bad habit of shooting themselves in the foot constantly.
It's bonkers,
why didn't they just put it to bed? Why have they dug it back up again?
I think it's because they really don't. I think it's like they're trying to cement the fact that they do not want the Snyder Cut to be canon. And I think it's like, oh well, I know you've all, it's been long enough. Let's whack a trailer out for the Whedon Cut. And
here's the decent one, and the news has died down for it. Let's reapply our really shit version and stuff it in people's faces again.
I can only imagine that whatever's coming now in DC is all going to be based. I mean, I think we knew it anyway, but it's not going to be anything to do with the Snyder. No, nothing in the Snyder Cut's going to be canon. It's all going to be based off the Justice League or the Whedon Cut, whatever you want to call it. And it's I didn't make that up. They're things that people are calling it on Twitter. But I think it's them just trying to probably get people to watch the Whedon version so that they think that's the way forward, which is it's a bit disappointing, isn't it? Because it was very disappointing. The Snyder Cut,
let's be honest, it was
really
just
good.
Shite. Let's be honest.
It was shite. It wasn't great. And the thing is, as well, with all the shit that's going on with Joss Whedon at the moment, it's just like it's bad. You couldn't time this any worse.
It's bad form because if you think about it, over here, I know we've obviously got listeners in the US, but there's been a TV series going, and somebody has had allegations made against them about sexual harassment.
Yeah.
And our ITV channel have pulled the final episode of the series.
Yeah.
So that they don't watch it because of that. Yeah. And then you've got somebody like Joss Whedon who has been making problems for quite some time now by the sounds of it from all the stuff that we've been getting told.
Allegations at this stage we should probably say because nothing's been proven, but I think everyone knows what's happened.
Yeah, but then they're trying to shove his work down your throat and it's like, mate,
leave it.
Chill out. Do you know what I mean?
I know. Yeah, bad move, but that's it. Let's see if anybody goes back and watches the Joss Whedon version because I've got a feeling they won't. Green Lantern news. So the Green Lantern series on HBO Max. A little bit of news. They have cast Guy Gardner, who's going to be one of the leads. So one of the Green Lanterns. He's one of the Lanterns from the comic books. It's a guy called Finn Wittrock who's going to be playing Guy Gardner. I've never heard of this
from
guy.
American Horror Story.
I'm so glad you know who he is because I haven't got a clue.
And he is amazing.
Is he good?
He's a fantastic actor. He has played a couple of different characters over the years in American Horror Story because, as you know, each series is a completely different. Yeah. And he's just brilliant. Absolutely
amazing. You excited to see him as a superhero?
I'm excited to see it. I am excited to see him more as a superhero because he's mainly played villains in the past.
Yeah. Well, I think Guy Gardner from memory is a bit like he's not an anti-hero. He is a hero, but he's a bit of a. I think can be a bit of a
loose cannon.
From what I know.
Oh. I put it more politely. A loose cannon.
Loose cannon. No, yeah. Well, we were calling the Justice League shite before, so let's just go with he's a dick. Non-DC news then. We've got... there was a trailer released this week for The Tomorrow War. Have you seen this? you seen what this is about? New Chris Pratt movie.
No.
It sounds. Do you know what? It's shocking. But the trailer, to be fair, doesn't really give much away. But the premise of the movie, which I think sounds quite interesting, is that in the future, in like 2051, aliens have attacked the Earth, and we're basically getting our arse handed to us. So they have to go back in time 30 years to 2021 and get people from the past to come and help fight in the future to basically build up the army. So Chris Pratt's in it. J.K. Simmons plays his dad, and Yvonne Strahovski's in it from Chuck. Oh. So I think we need different things now, don't we? Because it's like everything seems like it's already been done. But I thought that sounded like quite an interesting idea. So I said the trailer doesn't really give much away, but it's out on the 2nd of July, so we'll watch that. I'm sure we'll mention that in the podcast when we get to it. Invincible news, obviously we'll be going through that in a bit. The big news for this week was that it has been renewed for seasons 2 and 3. So we're skipping straight to 2 series renewal by Amazon Prime. That'll be good. We'll talk about obviously what we thought of Invincible in a bit, but that was the news on that. Marvel news, we've got a few rumours. So, not Spider-Man, No Way Home. There's, again, hopefully we're not going to spoil this, but the rumour is from that hashtag show that Sony and Marvel are going to share the rights to Norman Osborn moving forwards, which makes sense because they've been playing really nice with each other, haven't they? With streaming rights and all that sort of stuff. They reckon that we will be getting Willem Dafoe back as Norman Osborn, but he'll be a different version. So he's not going to be the Raimi version. He's going to be he's going to be the MCU version. He's just going to look like the original Norman Osborn, similar to J.K. Simmons, isn't it? Because obviously J.K. Simmons played J.J. Jameson. That would be. I'm taking it with a pinch of salt at the moment. That would be so good because I think he gave such a good performance as Norman Osborn. It's going to be hard for somebody to beat it because I think everyone it'd be the same as J.J. Jameson. I think anybody else coming in other than J.K. Simmons, you'd be like, yeah, well, it's not as good as the Raimi version, and I think that would probably be the struggle with this going forward. We just need James Franco back now as Harry Osborn, but I can't see that one happening somehow. We got some news about Ironheart, which is going to be coming to Disney Plus next year, I think. We already know actress called Dominique Thorne is going to be playing the main role of Riri Williams, who is Ironheart. But they've now confirmed that Variety have confirmed that a guy called Chinaka Hodge has been brought on by Disney to write the series. And it's going to be 6 one-hour episodes. This guy Chinaka Hodge, he is one of the staff writers on Snowpiercer. On the series of Snowpiercer. Okay. Now, I've not seen the series. I've heard the movie. Watching it. Is it good? Is it good?
Yeah, it's really good. I love it.
Have you seen the film with Chris Evans?
I haven't seen the film.
See, I've seen the movie. The movie was brilliant. I really enjoyed that, and I've heard really good things.
Sean Bean is now in the series of Snowpiercer.
Is he? Is he dead yet? Or is he still alive?
I'm a few episodes behind, so anything could happen at this point.
It's got to happen. He can't survive. He can't survive a whole series.
He's known for his death scenes, isn't he?
Just a bit. We had a little bit of Hawkeye news this week, or a little bit. I don't know whether it was a leak. I think it was officially released, but there was a behind the scenes photo released of Jeremy Renner in costume. I know you've seen this because I sent you this.
I have seen this.
You have seen it. So it's got Jeremy. I can't even say it. Jeremy Renner in a comic accurate costume. So it's purple and black. And we also see Alaqua Cox in the picture as well, and she's going to be playing Echo, which we obviously mentioned a couple of weeks ago. There's going to be an Echo season. What do you think of the costume?
I like it. It's a bit different.
Like it. It was similar to the first reaction to Sam's costume as Cap. I saw it and went, "Oh, it's not bright because it's black and purple, but it's very comic accurate, isn't it? And it's very comic booky." And at first, I was a bit like, "Oh, do I like that or not?" But it's grown on me. I love the fact that we're at this point now, and I think we mentioned this last week. We are getting like proper comic, not exactly comic accurate, but really comic booky costumes in the MCU now. And I think it's brilliant. I can't wait to see we could now get when we get X-Men, we could get the yellow and black or yellow and blue Wolverine costume, which will be brilliant. Because there's no reason that can't work now. obviously we had like the black leather, all in black leather, and in the original movies. But
to be fair though, I think if they did go down that route of the yellow and blue, if they're getting all of the like some of the other X-Men into their costumes, like the whole idea of it being a comedic value, because you know he's always been the tearaway and stuff, like there'd be a really big thing about him being against putting the costume on. Like I think that'd be hilarious.
Oh yeah, they'd have to definitely tie it in there, because he's an old, he's like hundreds of years old potentially, and they're gonna go down that route, aren't they, with the rumored anthology series that we're going to be getting, showing him like, you know, going through different time periods. So yeah, I can imagine trying to put like what's going to be in excess of 100-year-old man who's been through some shit in a yellow and blue spandex costume. Probably won't be spandex, but in a yellow and blue costume, that'll be good. Do you know what I had? And this is either going to go down really, really well, or it's going to go down like a lead balloon. You know, we're talking about like who could potentially play. I think the word Wolverine. That's who clearly we're talking about. Who could play Logan? And do you know what I was watching? And UK listeners will get onto that. Will know who this guy is. I think Martin Compston would be good from Line of Duty. Steve Arnott. Because he's only little in the comics. Wolverine. He's like 5 foot in the comics. And
is he?
And yeah. It's like. Hugh Jackman being like 6'4" or something like that. That's a massive diversion from the comics. In the comics, he's always been like, you know, a little angry dude. It's like when they were years ago. Apparently, I don't know if there's a rumor that's been confirmed, but years ago when they were going to make an X-Men film in like the early 90s, they were looking at Bob Hoskins to play Wolverine, because that's but back in the day when he wasn't like, you know,
all I can think of is Bob Hoskins as Smee.
That's all I can think of. I know, yeah. It's difficult to think of him as anybody else, isn't it?
Yeah. So I just could not get that in my head.
What do you reckon to Martin Compston though? I think he's big enough. He's I don't know. I just think he's done so well in like the UK and like Line of Duty. No, anyone in the US is going to be sitting here thinking, who the hell is Martin Compston? But the UK listeners hopefully are either going to sit there and think, you absolute idiot, Nick, no chance, or wow, I never thought of that. Let us know. Send me either praise on Twitter or Facebook saying, Nick, you're a genius, or just send me abuse.
If that happened, Ted would have to have a cameo role where he just sees Wolverine running past and he just goes, "Mother of God."
Mother of God. Jesus, Mary and the wee donkey.
That was a terrible accent.
Shut up. Moving on quickly. We might edit that bit out. Moving on quickly. Falcon The Winter Soldier. So they've obviously had the wrap up this week. There's been loads of interviews taking place around that, and quite a lot happened around it, so we've got a few bits of news on that. The first bit of news that came out right after the season finale was a bit of a kick-off, shall we say, over the critics' reviews of it and its Rotten Tomatoes score. So after the finale aired, it went to Rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, so it went to 59%, which is the first time, and it was the first episode of, you know, WandaVision had always been well into the fresh rating, and all the previous episodes had been. I think the series was sitting at like 85%. It's come back out now into 65%, but I think it just shows how much of a...
I think what happened was they heard my amazing theory that week
and thought, I was just devastated that it didn't
and
happen.
Everyone was just disappointed that it didn't go ahead.
Maybe that's
so
it.
I don't really blame them.
I don't. I'm still getting over it. I've already sent Marvel like 10 emails saying, what the hell were you thinking? You should have given Isaiah the shield. Yeah, loads. Listeners, just send them abuse. No, don't do that. Don't tell them we sent you either. Tell them some other. Think of another podcaster we don't like and tell them they sent you. It's what?
I said after we told everyone off about Godzilla v Kong.
Oh yeah, no, don't do that. We're gonna come across as hypocrites. Don't do that.
Yeah.
The other, do you know what? It's not comic book related, but I think it just shows. It's just like a little bit of news that came out this week, which shows how maybe not solid Rotten Tomatoes scores are. According to Rotten Tomatoes, Paddington 2 is now the greatest film ever made because it's got the highest critics reviews ever on Rotten Tomatoes. It's a good film.
Are you messing?
No, it's got 100%. It's beat Citizen Kane. Yeah, it's now, according to Rotten Tomatoes, it's the greatest film ever made. So it just shows, like, does it? I mean, it's a good film, Paddington and Paddington 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not the greatest film ever made, is it? So
no.
I think that has probably just done the Falcon Winter Soldier a massive favour in making people think, does it really matter if the if that's, if it gets that badder review.
Yeah.
Carrie Scogland, who is the director of Falcon Winter Soldier, she's done a few interviews as well. A couple of the main points I picked up from it. She's told Cinema Blend that she would love to direct Captain America 4. I'm sure she would. I mean, I'd be up for it. Falcon Winter Soldier was great, but as if she's going to say no, we don't want to direct Captain America 4. She's only, from what I can tell, done like TV series directing, but some big things like Walking Dead. She's directed episodes of that. She's done episodes of Handmaid's Tale, which I haven't seen, but you love.
Amazing.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah. I've not seen that. She's done Power. I've not seen that either, but I've heard amazing things.
I've heard really good things about Power.
And she's done episodes of Vikings and Boardwalk Empire. So she's done, and obviously she smashed Falcon the Winter Soldier out of the park. So
yeah,
I think the next step would be to be doing obviously like Hollywood movies, it's a good time to step up to it, isn't it? Because she's done so well with Falcon the Winter Soldier the series. Carrying it over to Captain America would be great. She also confirmed in another interview with The Playlist that Julie Louis-Dreyfus, as Val, or Madam Hydra, let's call her, she was. So I think we'd talked about rumors of this last week, but she confirmed she was supposed to have her debut in Black Widow. So we should expect to see her in that, which is good because I think she was really good. I know she was hardly in the series, but she was the way she portrayed it was very memorable. She was
there was a presence as she walked in. That's the thing. There are actors that can command a room when they walk in, and she does that.
Yeah, she's. I'm really excited to see what's coming with her. There's a few mentions of her in the assembled behind the scenes, which we'll go through in a minute. But she was good. A couple of other things. There were some interviews with Malcolm Spellman, who is the showrunner on the show. He said that one cut had of the final episode had the title card read Captain America and White Wolf instead of Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Well, that's the thing, because I've seen a news article as well saying that he's no longer the Winter Soldier. Like that's the end of him being the Winter Soldier. Yeah. So I think that was what that was also alluding to.
I agree, and I think the fact that they were talking about potentially doing that shows that he's hopefully going to go forward as, I don't know whether he'd be called White Wolf, but
it does make him sound like a 90s gladiator. To be fair,
it does a little bit, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. It does. That'd be brilliant. That'd be really good. I think apparently Marvel said they didn't want to they wanted to keep it as Winter Soldier because they didn't want the title card to be completely different.
Yeah.
And they thought quite rightly that it was more important that Sam's name got changed to Captain America than Bucky's. He also told, which is quite pretty big news, he also had an interview with Murphy's Multiverse, and he said that he was surprised about how few of the upcoming Marvel movies have been announced. So apparently there are a ton of Marvel movies that are in production, which makes sense, like, because obviously they're not going to tell us about everything they've got going.
And you can't overload it as well, because people, like, if you keep doing too many things, everyone's just going to go, it's going to become like a bit of white noise, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think we've already got that a little bit. I think when we finished Endgame and then the whole like Phase 4 and start of Phase 5 got announced, I was already there a little bit because it was a bit. Because most of it was stuff we'd never seen before, like Shang-Chi and Eternals, and obviously we've seen Blade, but we've not seen him in the MCU before. A little bit of me was like, oh, this is a lot of change very quickly. So I think it's probably right that they're keeping it back, but it's dead exciting because what could be what's coming. The people are talking about like Thunderbolt's coming, which would be great. I'm surprised we've not had a Nova film yet or a Nova TV series. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what's
I'm
coming.
still surprised we've not had a trailer for Eternal yet. For the Eternals.
I'm surprised we've not had a trailer because it's we've only just had the Shang-Chi trailer though.
Do you reckon that's why?
Well, I think
because Eternals is coming fairly soon now, and I mean when you think about some of the other stuff where there were trailers coming out like 10 months before.
Yeah.
And I
think COVID's probably had a lot to do with it because they probably didn't want to. I would imagine they don't want to throw out a load of trailers with a load of release dates like they did with Black Widow, and then have to constantly re-update the trailer with a new date and new posters with new dates. So you probably find that once they've now settled on that is when we're getting Black Widow on the 9th of July. then we can release the Shang-Chi trailer because we're now confirming that date. But you then don't want to release the Eternals trailer a week later because, like you said, it'll become white noise if they're just constantly releasing a different trailer every week for what's coming. But hopefully it's going to be anytime soon. I would imagine, because Black Widow is obviously getting a cinema release, surely it's going to be tied to that. I mean, because it's not that far away now, is it? So hopefully we'll get something. But we've not even had a teaser. I mean, Shang-Chi was only a teaser trailer, wasn't it? So
yeah.
But yeah, I think we already knew that Kevin Feige clearly has got a lot planned out. Kevin Feige, rhymes with beige, got to get that in there. But I think the sooner we can start finding out about a few extra bits, that'll be good.
Yeah.
Assembled then, Falcon Winter Soldier, the behind the scenes. You've not seen this, but it's purely because we had a lot to work. We had a lot to get through. We had a whole series of Invincible to get through this week.
You'd already started it, but I hadn't. So and do you know what? I thought they were going to be, because it's animated, I thought they were going to be like half-hour episodes, but they're about 45 minutes to an hour, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Yeah. To be fair, I went back and watched it from the start as well, and we'll talk a bit about why in the review, particularly the non-spoiler review, but it's a lot longer than I thought it'd be as well. You would put it like 20-25 minute episodes, wouldn't you? But I
think that's just because it's animated, though. I think we've been so used to a particular way of it being done, and I'll talk more about it later, but I like the way it's been turned on its head a bit.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. No, spoilers for the non-spoiler review. So a few bits that I picked up was, we won't do a full breakdown of Assemble because go and watch it. It's brilliant. It's really good to get a good, you and the listeners. It's good. It's a really detailed behind the scenes look, and you see like the struggles that they had with like COVID and stuff and other things which I'll go through. The main bits that I picked up, that they said one of the main reasons he wanted to do this show was because Sam and Bucky, both in the movies that they've been in, had very limited screen time. When you think about like how often they've actually been in the movies, they're not there a great deal, are they? But
no.
They become, just from what they've been in, really beloved characters. So they were like, it was absolutely made sense that they were going to be one of the ones to get this TV series so that we could explore them even more. Particularly with Sam, they said they really wanted to explore the difficulty of being a black man in America, and then how much more difficult again it would be for a black man to be Captain America. And they got into that very early in the behind the scenes look, which obviously we've said in the reviews. At first it was alluded to before they just sort of like came at you with it, told you flat out that this is what it's about. So again, just for it to be dropped straight into the behind the scenes, just sort of it just set the tone for it. And to be fair, for most of the behind the scenes look, it sort of set the tone for it. The other things that I picked up on, I think you could tell from the way they were acting anyway, but Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan just looked like they had such a laugh on set constantly. It just looked like, I think Carrie Scoglin said that she had to like rein them in quite a lot because they were just having like a proper laugh, particularly, and you wouldn't think it from the character, but particularly when Daniel Bruhl got involved as Zemo, they just became like a stand-up comedy act, and they just wouldn't basically to a degree do what they were supposed to be doing. It was like a lot of like improv and stuff, but it just looked like it was an absolute laugh doing it. And then on one of them, I sent it to you before, there's like a little skit that they do on there of Zemo doing an advert for Suitcovia because of how sort of proud he is of his look and his coat. Had me howling, honestly. I was killing myself watching it. It's so good. And then some of the big things that you don't sort of particularly realize, I think we as I mentioned, we know that it was quite complicated to get this filmed and there were delays because of COVID, but apparently they were supposed to film in Puerto Rico. That's one of the locations that they were going to do it. So all the stuff that they ended up filming in Atlanta, or a lot of the stuff they ended up filming in Atlanta, was supposed to be filmed in Puerto Rico. And before filming was supposed to start, Puerto Rico had a massive earthquake. So I didn't know this. So it set them back quite a bit. So they did Disney did loads of research. They sent people out to go and sort of scope for locations again. They did loads of research into like seismic activity, which you just don't think they have to do these sort of things, do they? When they're making a TV show.
Imagine I'm a seismologist for Disney.
Gets hired by Disney. I know, yeah, it doesn't sound right, but yeah. Now they probably didn't have one, but now they do. Do you know what? Like proper like on payroll by Disney, they need to have it. So they said that because of all the research they did, you'll laugh at this now. Because of all the research that they did, they said, right, we're absolutely fine. We're going to go out. We're going to go out and film. It's safe. It's perfectly safe. We'll be okay. So some of the crew got out there, and then they had another earthquake. So they probably sacked that seismologist. He was gone. He was like, yes, I'm a seismologist working for Disney. I promised Disney there's not going to be another earthquake. And then they get there, and it's like, oh, shit.
And then he gets a really angry Mickey at his door. Yeah. Just wagging his finger. No.
Like, have you seen Mickey in South Park?
No.
Have you seen Mickey? Oh, he's a character. There's a character. Obviously, there's in South Park. They have Mickey Mouse in South Park, and he like runs Disney, and he's a bastard. He's horrible, and some of the stuff he gets up to in South Park is brilliant. But he's just like bosses people around, and he's just like he wouldn't like probably kill people, but he's like really vicious, and he will do anything for Disney to succeed. And it just reminds me of that sort of Mickey Mouse, just like really pissed off. Yeah, really not happy that he's cocked up. But so they had to then come back and pull everybody back from Puerto Rico. And then they decided that they're going to do filming in Prague. They sent everyone to Prague. They started filming the series and episodes in Prague. And then middle of filming, the pandemic hit. So they had to pull everybody back out of Prague. And it got delayed for 8 months. So there was like a massive 8-month window where they were doing probably doing certain bits of production still, but the actual filming wasn't. So then they went back to Prague and filmed, and I thought that's brilliant because you can't tell at any point when they're filming, like, because I think a lot of the Prague stuff was with the bits set in like Latvia, and you can't tell.
No one got their lockdown fat.
No, I know, yeah, I know. But you know what? It did get me thinking. You know, everyone says like Wyatt Russell looks different in loads of different scenes. I do wonder whether that's why he looks different because there's an 8-month gap. Because nobody else did, but I did wonder why that was.
Maybe
the Madripoor scenes were all filmed in Atlanta rather than going abroad for it. So they filmed all that in the US, which I thought was quite interesting. And they like basically built like fake like train lines going over the streets and all that sort of stuff. Put like quite a lot of effort into that. One thing that I didn't agree with them with was Spellman, who's the showrunner. He was talking about the Power Broker reveal, and he was like, we were really worried when we started when we decided to bring in this storyline, because we thought people might find it too obvious, but I think we nailed it. And I was sitting there thinking you didn't, because everybody got onto it. Everyone got onto
That's
it.
That's proper like this is uncomfortable.
I know, yeah. I'm surprised they put it in there. I'm surprised they didn't last minute go, we better take that bit out, because everybody got onto the fact that Sharon was the Power Broker.
Spoilers.
Spoilers, yeah. And then if you're listening to this, you've seen it. And then the last bit, the last bit of it that I picked up on, there's quite a lot of talk about Sam obviously stepping up as Cap. The speech that he did, that was created by Anthony Mackie and Matt Spellman, just talking on the phone for hours and just basically coming up with this speech. They decided that they didn't want him to be standing up and doing a speech. They wanted it to be as him talking to somebody and delivering it to like somebody personally. So they just got on the phone and just hammered this out. And Anthony said that he only wanted to say something on screen that he believed, which is why they just sat and hashed it out. And I think you can tell because it came across as so powerful as we've talked about.
Real, not forced.
Yeah, exactly. Because it was real at the end of the day. It's like they're talking about, Sam's talking about how much of a struggle it is in real life for him to stand up as a black man, as being Captain America in the show. But he's probably, which is disgusting, but I'm 100% certain he's probably still having the same shit from real people thinking that a black man shouldn't be Captain America in the show.
We watched that scene when he stood at the car and he gets treated like shit, basically, for being black, until they realise who he is. Now, as an actor, Anthony Mackie, that could very well happen still in the street because somebody doesn't recognise him straight away. And so even that to me was quite powerful, because it's like, we are celebrities and things like that, and sometimes it can come across that we're untouchable, but nobody is at the end of the day.
Exactly. So, because there'll always be people out there who are just morons who just have something against him for no reason, basically. They talked about, there's quite a lot of talk about the costume. Because I think that, again, like we said last week, at first it was a bit bright and shiny maybe, but they said that was the point of it. They wanted it to be a real positive bright costume, like a knight in shining armor, and I think, you know, knowing now what they wanted to do with it and what they wanted to achieve kind of makes a lot more sense, and they did achieve it. I also thought it was quite interesting, you know, the cowl that goes around his face, a lot of that had to be CG, like bits of it CG'd out, because they couldn't get the cowl to sort of stick to his face, so every time he turned his head, it'd like open up like a big flap of it, and you'd be able to see that right down his neck. So there was quite a lot of CG shots around his face to make it look good. And then you sat there, Anthony, and you slated it and said you didn't like it.
I still don't like it. I think that was extra effort for no reason.
I don't think a lot of people. I think there's a lot of people who don't like it. But when I suppose you got to appreciate the amount of work that went into it.
It's one of those things that might look good in animated, but just on a real person, it just looks a bit weird. Yeah. That was all it was. I think
they'll keep it, but they'll tweak it.
Yeah. I think I understand it because it will have the goggles onto it, and it keeps all the costume as one and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
I'd have just rather had the separate goggles, to be honest.
Well, do you know what, the goggles? I saw that you see them making the shots, and the goggles aren't there. The red visor's not actually there. He's just got the thing down. I think he's got like some sort of goggles around his eyes, but there's no red visors on them or anything like that. It makes you realise what they do with CG. And they like CG out all like the zip, because it's full of zippers and Velcro bits and all that sort of stuff, and it's all CG'd out so that it looks like one costume. And then the last thing again comes back to the whole race side of things. Mackie, Anthony, I just wrote down Mackie. Anthony Mackie, which I think is brilliant, says he's really proud that, because it's never happened before, which is right, that his sons will now be able to turn on the TV and see a black man as Captain America, because you'd have never seen, you wouldn't have seen it. And the other thing that I thought was good, again, by Disney, you know, we talk about them not holding back. Anthony Mackie, in one of the interviews at the end of the episode, literally sits there and says, you know, the whole thing, you know, it started getting filmed and produced before any of the shit happened last year, but the whole COVID situation is very reminiscent of what's happened with the displaced people. So that was very powerful, and then all the riots and stuff like that, and he literally mentions by name George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, which I thought, for Disney to be doing that on Disney Plus is very powerful.
Big move. And again,
they're not holding anything back, which is great, because they need to be standing up and supporting this. So I think as a whole, it was good. There's a lot more there that I didn't go through, like interviews with like Wyatt Russell, Sebastian Stan, all that, you know, the whole cast really. So it's definitely worth going back and watching. I really enjoyed it. It was good. It was good to get an insight as to, again, how hard work it was to try and do this during a pandemic and 2 earthquakes, and they still ended up producing this. And then you've got idiots giving them 59% on Rotten Tomatoes when all the shit they're trying to achieve and all the crap that they went through to actually do it. Just like, don't give them crap reviews. You know, give them the dues. And then they give bloody Paddington 2 100%. It's just absolutely bonkers, isn't it? But yeah, it was good. Definitely worth a watch. Should we do Invincible?
Yeah, let's do it.
Should we do Invincible? Right, so we'll do non-spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen the show. Should we do? I thought what I'll do is I'll do a really quick run through as to what the show's about. I won't do like a bit full breakdown, but just in case anyone hasn't seen it and is thinking of watching it. So it's about a teenager called Mark Grayson, played by Stephen Yeun from Walking Dead. He's the son of this world's Superman, who's a guy called Omni-Man, who is voiced by J.K. Simmons, who absolutely nails it. So does Stephen Yeun, but J.K. Simmons, he looks like J.K. Simmons, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
But instead of being a Kryptonian, he's an alien. He's from an alien race called Viltrum, so he's a Viltrumite. The basis is that he's getting his powers, and he's learning how to deal with it and how to live in this world that's full of heroes and supervillains, but also how to try and live up to his dad, who at the end of the day is like the world's most powerful and famous superhero. But as the series goes on, which isn't spoilers because I checked, this is in the description for episode 1 on Amazon, you start to realize as the viewer that his perfect dad might be not as perfect. as you think he is going into episode 1. Without giving anything away, what are your thoughts on it as a whole?
So first of all, the cast. Like,
that's exactly the first thing I've got as well.
So impressed. So not only, obviously there's the ones you've mentioned, there's also Sandra Oh, who was Eve in Killing Eve, and she was Christina Yang in Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah.
You've got Andrew Rennell Ranald, sorry, who was actually in the 2011 Broadway Book of Mormon as like the main guy.
Is that William?
So, yes, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So kind of on the musical side of things, which is my favourite. Like I was very impressed to see that it was him as well.
Yeah. So he's just for non-spoilers. He's Invincible's best mate, isn't he? Basically.
Yeah. And then you've got his name gives me anxiety, as most do.
Go on, I've got it as well. Go on, you do it.
Is his first name Mark?
No, I was going with somebody else. Who's Mark?
No, I might be wrong. It might not be Mark.
What character?
The guy that's in like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and he's in The Good Place and stuff like that as well. And he was in The House, with Amy Poehler and Will Ferrell.
Yeah, Jason Mantzoukas.
That's
he's
him.
He's who I've got.
I can't say his last name.
I googled it. I put how to pronounce it so I didn't butcher it. But yeah, Jason Mantzoukas. He plays a character called Rexplode, and again, we won't go into spoilers. He is literally the best character in the show by a mile. You hate him at first, but he's brilliant.
Can we also mention Zachary Quinto?
Zachary Quinto is good as well.
That was a shocker, and Mark Hamill as well.
Mark Hamill's in it, yeah. It's the cast is absolutely.
This is what I mean.
Brilliant.
It was just insane. I wasn't expecting so many like names that I would have recognised straight off.
And there's loads more, and we'll mention some of them as we go through the spoiler reviews, like when they pop up. But there's loads more. The standouts I had Jason Mantzoukas as Rexplode, because I just think he's like my favourite character in anything that I've seen in a long time, because he's brilliant. Seth Rogen as Alan the Alien is brilliant in it. He's dead good. And then I thought Walton Goggins as Cecil Stedman, who's like the CIA-ish guy. I think he's in it quite a lot, but he absolutely nailed it. He gave a really good performance. And when you think about like other things that he's been in, because he's the bad guy in Ant-Man 2, isn't he? And it's like if nobody told me it was him, or I hadn't researched to find out it was him, I wouldn't have thought it was him. I think he gives. I think he gives a really good performance. I didn't research who that was, so I didn't realise it was him. But now that you've said it, I can hear it. You can hear
that
it.
That makes
now.
sense. Yeah.
The cat. But absolutely massive cast. And
so impressive.
There's loads of other big names, and as I said, we'll probably mention some of them in the spoilers as we go through. Yeah. But there's not enough time to go through everybody, because there's like massive like stellar actors in every episode, literally just coming in to do like what probably took 2 minutes of reading, or not probably more, but they're in it for like seconds. Yeah. And to get that cast is brilliant. What did you think of the animation?
So, this was the thing. So when you told me to watch Invincible, I kind of, you hear about the animated series and stuff like that. I was expecting it to be like a superhero comedy, to be honest.
Oh, well, yeah.
So when I sat down, like, because I went into it completely blind. I didn't read up on it or anything like that. I like doing it that way because I don't know what to expect. Yeah. And it was so much darker and more violent than I ever expected.
Yeah.
I was shocked, but also very impressed, if that makes sense. A lot of the time, because when you hear about adult animations, you think of things like your Family Guy, your American Dad, all of those kind of things, South Park. You think it's gonna be funny, and it's not. I
was in the same boat.
Dramatized.
It's got comedy moments in it.
It has.
Rex explodes just like everything comes out.
Hilarious.
It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
But I thought it was going to be a lot more of a black comedy. And I didn't think it was just going to be a complete comedy from the trailers, but I thought it'd be a lot more comedic than it was. But it's not, is it? It's like I'd put it as on the same. I mean, it's from Robert Kirkman, who wrote The Walking Dead, but I'd probably put it at the same sort. It's a very similar show, apart from it's about superheroes. It's just and I would imagine, obviously because it was a comic book anyway, but the budget it would take to create this in real life with real life actors would have just been ridiculous. So that's probably one of the reasons why they've gone down the animated route, because some of the stuff that you see in it is it's massive, isn't it?
Intense. Yeah.
I thought I don't know whether to ask you or tell you what I thought. So I thought it was really good. I thought it was a really good series. And we'll get into spoilers as to reasons why this, but I found it a bit of a slow burner at first. The first one was good because it sort of introduced you to everybody, but I found after that it kind of went a little bit slow, and I wasn't. I personally, not that anyone's wrong if they enjoyed it from the get-go, but I found it quite hard work at first to watch it, and it wasn't until like maybe episode 4 that for me it really kicked in, and it did in a big way. It's like once I got to episode 4 I was like, I need to watch. It's like because we were watching it for the podcast, episode 1, 2 and 3 I was a bit like, got to get through all this because I've got to,
what are we going to talk about
on it. And I was sitting there thinking, what have I dragged Anthony into here? And he's going to be sitting there thinking, why is he making me watch this? And then I got to episode 4 and I was like, I need to watch the next one. And I literally did episode 4, 5, 6 and 7 in a night because I just couldn't turn it off. And I got to the end of episode 7 and I was like, I need to watch the finale now. And it was like 2 days, 3 days before I could watch it.
The thing is, as I said to you, I didn't read up any of it. I didn't even look at the blurb, but on Amazon before I pressed play. I didn't look at any of it. So the big twist that happened, I was shocked as hell.
Really?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that level.
Right, okay, I can't wait to talk. We'll talk about spoilers in a sec then. But what would you say? What do you think of it as a whole? Would you recommend people to? Do you think it was good? Do you think it lived up to the hype?
Yeah, I think if you like, same as you, I think if you can get past the first couple of episodes, it's fantastic. Like I really enjoyed it. I thought once the real story kind of starts, it's just swinging with the punches. Like it's just non-stop.
I agree.
You've got one thing after another straight away. And the pace gets a lot better towards the end, and I think it's just the fact that they needed to introduce it at first. What I'd also like to point out is that I really love the fact that every episode starts with some kind of sentence that has Invincible in, and as they reach that word, they don't say it, and Invincible just comes up across the screen, and I thought that was really cool.
And it's not a spoiler, but every episode, it gets more bloody.
Yeah.
The title card to the point where at the very end it's just like red, and that's not a spoiler. But it's just it gets bloody as it goes along. And to be fair, the series does that to a degree as well. Yeah, so I think you hit the nail on the head. And I think when you're talking about, you were saying like the pace of it, I think because to a degree, and again it's not spoilers, they've tried to go each episode, particularly the early ones, have like. There's the main overarching story, but the first ones kind of like have their own individual story, like a bit of like a freak of the week bad guy. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think it was good at sort of establishing relationships and people's power sets, but at the same time it kind of distracted from the main story. And it wasn't until like episode 4 and 5 that they started to be a little bit less important in the episodes, and the big story seemed to go over. But I think that's why I struggled with the pace. Yeah, to a degree. But in general, I think it was good and it's worth watching. And I don't know about you, I'm really excited for episode 2 and season 2 and 3. Not episode 2. I've seen episode 2. It's going to be a bit of a crap spoiler review if I've not seen episode 2.
Yeah,
but,
it was
good.
I like how they ended it. The first series. I thought,
I did.
I'm into this.
And not, do you know what? Not spoilers, but because we want to review it without giving spoilers away. I think the finale was good, but I think it was that's it. I think it was good. I don't think it was great.
No.
And I think if it wasn't for the fact that before, or maybe the day, I can't remember when they announced that we were getting the season 2 and 3. I think it was Thursday night they did it. I think for me personally, they needed to announce season 2 and 3 before they released the finale, because I had to view it as more of a setting up season 2 and 3 than an ending.
If you break it down, I think they played it safe in the fact that if they did more of a cliffhanger than they did and didn't get renewed for the new seasons, that it'd have been really shit, basically.
Yeah, I agree.
Because there's nothing worse. I've watched a few TV shows that have been cancelled before the story has ended, and it's an absolute nightmare. Like it makes me so angry, and I think it's really unfair. What?
Did you ever watch Alcatraz with Sam Neill?
Yes, that's exactly what I was just thinking of.
That just did. It just,
do you know,
the biggest
there's 2 of them,
ever.
Alcatraz and then Santa Clarita Diet as well.
Oh yeah, Santa Clarita. I like that. It was
I
very. It was
loved
not a
it.
serious show. Did that end on a
No.
cliffhanger?
Yeah, because her
Spoilers.
husband. Yeah, sorry, spoilers. So her husband swallowed that spidery thing that came out of her. Remember?
Yes. Yeah.
And we didn't know what was going to happen next, and then that's where it ended, and it was like, "Are you messing?"
Yeah, I hate it when they do stuff like that.
I know.
Stuff
And
like
that had Nathan Fillion in.
It's what?
Santa Clarita Diet had Nathan Fillion in as well.
Yeah, Nathan Fillion. Yeah, it's brilliant in that. But yeah, so to wrap up the non-spoilers, really good. Start. It can be a bit of an effort to start off with, but stick. In my opinion, some people enjoyed it all the way through, but in my opinion, if you start it and you don't like it straight away, stick with it.
Push through.
It does get really good. Should we do spoilers then?
Yeah, let's do it.
What twist were you talking? I mean, we'll go through each episode and give it a bit of a breakdown on what we thought. But when you say in the twist, I assume you mean the twist that Omni-Man was evil.
The fucking gruesome murder of the Guardians.
Oh, at the start of the first episode. That way you thought that twist, yeah.
Was that the start of the first episode?
When he kills the Guardians, yeah, it's only the first episode. That.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the end of the first episode.
I thought that was the end of episode 2.
No, that was the end of episode 1.
Oh my god, I told you these episodes were long. I think that's why I've got confused as to where I was up to. I honestly thought I was watching like a 24 episode thing because
I think the reason
they were
it did
double
it in
length.
the first episode is because of where they put the title card. Because they put the title card at the end. Because he only sent Invincible at the very end, like 10 minutes from the end of the episode.
Okay, yeah.
Because that's where they put the titles. So I think that threw me massively as well. Because I was like, where are we up to? Do you know what I mean? It was like It was a weird. It worked, but it was a really weird way of doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, should we? So we won't do like.
I genuinely didn't realise it was that early.
Yeah, it was at the end of episode 1. Yeah, I know because I've written it down.
Okay.
I've got it written down. Either I'm right and I've got it written down, or I've completely cocked this up. But what we'll do is we'll go through briefly each episode. Just highlight the main bits, and then do a bit of a spoilery wrap up review at the end of it.
Yeah.
But so 8 episodes. The first episode is called "It's About Time." So it starts with the attack on the White House by the Mauler twins, who are brilliant. The clones, they're so good.
Yeah,
they're insane. And so they get stopped by the Guardians of the Globe, which is basically the Justice League, and even the characters in the Justice League. It's like
I was like, what was her name? War Woman instead of Wonder Woman.
Yeah, so we've got the Immortal, which he's not like Superman, is he? But he's kind of like that. I mean, Omni-Man is the Superman, but he's kind of like the second Superman. So you've got the Immortal, you got War Woman, Martian Man, Red Rush, who is just the Flash. Darkwing, which is clearly Batman. Green Ghost.
Yeah. And then you've got the fish guy who's basically a shit Aquaman.
It's just that's brilliant.
Aquaman the wrong way round.
It's just the weirdest, but it just goes so well with the
Honestly,
people.
When I saw him attack, I thought, I feel like I'm watching fucking Pokemon here.
I know, and he sounds like Admiral Akbar. I was waiting for him to go, "It's a trap" at some point. At the end when Omni-Man rolls up, they missed that. They should have had him go, "It's a trap" at the very end. But they were good. It was just like, so it was Justice League. And you know what I didn't realize until I was writing this up? We're talking about like the voice actors. Do you know who voiced all the Guardians?
No.
It's basically the Walking Dead cast.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. So Immortal was Ross Marquand, and he also did the voice of the Aquaman, Aquarius, who is Aaron from Walking Dead, and Red Skull from Endgame. War Woman was Lauren Cohan.
Was
Maggie.
Maggie, yeah.
Yeah. Martian Man was Chad L. Coleman, who played Tyrese. Red Rush was Michael Cudlitz, who played Abraham. He did a very good Russian accent. Darkwing was Lenny James, who plays Morgan. And then Green Ghost was Sonequa Martin Green, who plays Sasha. So it was basically the full Walking Dead cast, who, spoilers for the end of the episode, don't last don't last past the end of the first episode. So they basically they fight them all, don't they? And then Omni-Man rolling up. Omni-Man rolls up at the end and helps them, but it's made quite clear at the start he's not part of that team, is he? He's separate for that.
Yeah.
And then I think it's then that we first meet Mark. So he's 17, 18, and he's Omni-Man's son, or Nolan's son, what's his real name.
Yeah.
And he's not got his powers yet, and him and his dad are both sort of stressing out about the fact that he's not got any powers at this point. And I think I think you realise, don't you, towards the end, why, when we get the big twist at the end episode, you sort of why I think he's stressing out about the fact that Mark's not got powers, because if he doesn't, he's going to have to kill him. I would imagine.
Off him.
Yeah, that's it. Mark, again, we find out, it gets clear that he's not got his powers because Mark gets into a fight at school with some bully named Todd, I think his name is.
Yeah.
And that's when we meet Amber, who is played by Zazie Beetz, who is in Deadpool. She's really good all the way through the series as well. Again, just the cast in it, amazing.
Yeah.
And then Mark's powers come in later in the episode. He does like loads of training with his dad. At one point, he hits him far too hard in the chest, doesn't he? And he's like crying and rolling on the floor, and it's like properly that rattles him. So I think he sort of, the way I viewed it was, he decides he wants to go out and sort of prove that he is hard and he's a superhero. So he makes like the classic homemade suit in his pajamas with a bandana on his mask, with a bandana over his face, which is just like, again, the whole series is very reminiscent of every other comic book, movie and comic book themselves, isn't it?
Yeah. Even
down to the names, like Grayson, Mark Grayson's just Dick Grayson, which is Nightwing. So he goes and stops a robbery by like a rock supervillain, should we call him? Called Titan, who again is Mahershala Ali. So massive Oscar-winning actor doing this, and he's got like a couple of lines here, and then he comes back into like one of the later episodes, but it's minutes, isn't it? It's minutes he's in it, and you've got these like massive actors. He has a heart-to-heart with his dad at that point, I think, and he takes him to the superhero tailor, who's Art Rosenbaum, who is Mark Hamill, who again is brilliant in it. He plays it really well, and he's in it quite a bit. And then eventually he lands on the name Invincible. And that's when, and he gets his suit, and that's when you see him like flying around the city, don't you? And he fights another superhero. He's got this big gun, and I thought it was quite good because it kind of, I don't know what his name was. Do you know which one I mean? He's like shooting through buildings and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but I can't remember his name either.
I can't remember his name, but it kind of not panders to the audience, but it kind of it's sensible. It's like he blows a hole in this building and Mark sees it from like miles away, and then all these cops show up and start shooting him, and he kind of looks at them and is like, "Are you serious? I've just blown a hole in a building and you're shooting me with these guns."
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you trying to do? He just like shot through a building and you're trying to fight him. And that's when we get Mark says, "I'm invincible," or he doesn't say "I'm invincible," he says "I'm," and that's when we get the first title card. And then at the end we get it is the end of episode 1. So I think we see Red Rush with his wife Olga, and he has to leave to go to the Guardians headquarters because they all get called there. And then it's when they all get there and they say like, who's called us here? And then Omni-Man shows up and he just annihilates them. I mean, they put up a fight, don't they?
Brutal, though, isn't it?
How many of them? It sets. I think it's already. I don't think there was that much gore throughout the rest of the rest of the episode.
But it sets a tone big time.
Yeah, I was really. I mean, I could tell quite early, and I think from the explanations as the descriptions from the first episode, like, is not all he seems. I think I wasn't surprised at the fact that he was going to turn out to be bad, Omni-Man, but I wasn't expecting that.
No,
not at all. Because I mean, big. I thought they were the Guardians were going to be like throughout. You'd think they were going to be throughout the series, wouldn't you?
I did genuinely think that he was under some mind control or something at first.
Yeah,
because
actually.
Because of the fact that he wasn't speaking when he did it either.
Yeah.
They're begging him to stop and all that kind of stuff in the process.
And the fact he collapses at the end.
Yeah. So I kind of thought that meant that something was happening to him. And then I did. There was just no hint to it afterwards, and I was like, oh.
No. and it's clear it's not. He's just a psycho.
He's just a prick.
Yeah, he's a prick. He's a dickhead. So episode 2 is called Here Goes Nothing. So I think we open with the GDA, the Global Defense Agency, is looking after Nolan because they've shown up and they've found all the Guardians dead, and they're trying to rescue them all, aren't they? But Nolan's the only one who's still alive, and that's when we meet Cecil Stedman, who's played by Walton Goggins, who, as we've already said, brilliant character all the way through. And he brings Mark and his mum, Debbie, who's Sandro, as you mentioned, in to say, like, we'll look after him and all that sort of stuff. And I think he starts at that point trying to say to Mark, are you gonna, we know you've got powers now, are you gonna be able to help out? And I think from memory, he's not really massively keen on working for the GDA at that stage. And then we get these aliens start attacking Chicago, the city, the Flaxons, who are just a pain in the arse and keep coming back and coming back. So they attack the city, and Mark tries to go and stop them, but he can't handle it. And then he puts up a fight, doesn't he? But he can't do it on his own. And then that's when we meet the teen team, which is pretty much just this world's version of the Teen Titans, who are brilliant, and the characters all the way through. So there's Robot, which is the standout is Robot, who's Zachary Quinto, Rexplode, who is Jason Mantzoukas, who we said, who's fantastic. He's a bit of a prick in the first episode, but you learn to love him, don't you? And then the other ones, there's Atom Eve, who ends up being a massive character, and then Duplicate as well, who can.
I love that name, by the way, that she's Duplicate.
Duplicate, it's good, isn't it?
I just thought it was
so straightforward and obvious, but it works really well. And they're all quite fleshed out characters, aren't they? Because considering there's so many characters in the show, not every single one, but most of them are quite fleshed out, which and I think that comes down to the fact that maybe not like that you get loads of background with them, but they're getting such good actors to do these. You sort of buy into them very quickly. So they fight these Flaxons, and they age really quick, and because of some sort of time. I think Robot says like time dilation or something. And they have to retreat and run away. And then I think Mark in school realizes that Atom Eve is somebody he goes to school with, and he recognizes her in the hall. And then they become really good mates, don't they? Very quickly, Mark and Eve. And I think I think there's a little explanation. I will go back to it at the end of the final episode. But I think he says to her, like, "You're not wearing a mask. How come you're not?" Because she doesn't have a mask on when she's Atom Eve, does she? And she says it's all psychological. People don't expect to see a superhero in this school, and that's why people don't recognize me. And then there's kind of like a nod. Did you pick up on the nod to it in the finale as to what she says there?
No, I've probably missed that.
That's fine. I get to it. I was killing myself laughing. I thought it was one of the funniest bits in the show, but we'll get there when we get there. So the
is it the bit in the diner scene?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you.
So the Flaxons come back, and they've got this tech which stops them from aging, but the Mark and the team fight him again, don't they? And stop. I think Robot, doesn't he? I think he does like an EMP type thing, doesn't he? And knocks them off all their wrists. And and they have to run.
So they all leg it back to the portal before they die.
And then they come back again. They come back for a third time, and they've got like all this massive tech.
The general version of them, he's like in this bigger robot each time that he's doing it, isn't he? He comes back with like all sorts of mechanical stuff as well. Yeah,
like a proper big mech. which, but to be fair, they're quite they on the third time they handle themselves, don't they? Because I think they can't beat them. The team can't beat him, and Mark can't beat him either. And it's only then Nolan rolls up, Omni-Man shows up, and basically. And beats them, and he forces them to go back. They all retreat again, but he ends up going through the portal.
It goes through the portals before it closes,
and then it jumps to. I think they're all a bit. I think Mark's a bit stressed out because his dad's gone and disappeared through a portal, but his mum's not really bothered. She's just like,
she's like, oh, he's done this before. He'll be back.
Exactly, yeah. And then this is when we meet Alan the Alien, which is just a boss name, Alan the Alien. Mark gets sent by Cecil because Omni-Man's not around to fight something, as far as they're aware, that's coming to Earth, and he goes and fights this Alan the Alien, who's voiced by Seth Rogen, who's really good. And it turns out that he's not evil or anything like that. He's working for this I can't remember what they're called. I can't remember the name of the coalition. I think he works for. He works for the coalition, and he gets sent from planet to planet to basically test the defenses of that planet to make sure if they get attacked by aliens, they can handle themselves. But then we find out that he's gone to the wrong planet. He should have been on Urath, and he's gone to Earth instead. And he's like terrified that he's going to get bollocked. So he leaves, and then I think that's we meet then Damien Darkblood, who's voiced by Clancy Brown, who again is an amazing actor. But you can just pick up his voice instantly, and he's investigating the Guardians' murder, and he gets more into it, doesn't he, throughout the series?
Yeah.
And then again, another really dark ending is we see Nolan on the Flaxen planet, and again another hint as to what's going on. He says something along the lines of, "You seem to think that Earth is yours. Oh, you seem to think you can conquer Earth." But what you don't realise is Earth isn't yours to conquer. And then he just obliterates the planet. He just wipes. Apparently, he's there for 3 months in their time, because obviously time moves differently there.
Yeah.
But he just obliterates the planet. He gets whatever's left of them to open a portal so he can get home. And then as he's going through the portal, he like drops a massive meteor or something on the planet and just blows up this planet. He is just... And again, we already knew from the first episode that he's brutal and he's ruthless.
Yeah.
But we were under the impression, I think, that he might be being mind controlled, like we just said. And this is like, he's not. This is just a bad man. He's just no holds barred. He will just destroy anybody he needs to destroy to achieve his mission, should we say. So we then go on to episode 3, which is Who You Calling Ugly, and this is where we get 2 funerals for the Guardians. So we get like one big public funeral, which is being led by Omni-Man, and then we get the private funeral. And I think Eve tells Mark the reason they have 2 is so that people don't know where the bodies are, so people don't try and, trophy hunters don't try and dig up the bodies, which is gross, but it's really realistic and to a degree, because it's something that some idiots would probably do if there were superheroes sort of buried.
Not even in like a creepy way, but I mean it's all creepy anyway. But like,
it's a bit. Go on, where are you going with this, aren't you? It's
well,
creepy.
no, because if you've got a superhero, you think, oh, is it something to do with their blood or something like that? And you think, am I able to take something like that away from it and see if I can mold it so that we can create our? Do you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, we see that, don't we, at the end of one of the episodes, when Immortal gets dug up. There's the 2 teenagers, I think, and they can drink out of his skull or something like that and get his powers or something ridiculous like that. So at the funeral, Damien Darkblood rolls up and he questions Nolan at the second one, and he sort of hints that he suspects him that he might have had something to do with the Guardian's death because he was the only one who survived. And I think at this stage he's sort of got onto the fact that there was nobody else there. The only people there were the Guardians and Nolan. Cecil gets Robot to put together a new Guardians team, and he gets to choose the team as well because of how well he's done against the Flaxens. And they have these tryouts, don't they? They have like all the different heroes come in. I really enjoyed this.
I enjoyed it. I felt like it was a bit Hunger Gamesy.
It was, wasn't it? I thought. So I get that.
Like everyone watching from the gallery while they show off their powers.
It was, wasn't it? Yeah. I thought of like X-Men Danger Room. But yeah, it was very much like Hunger Games, and there's loads of different people with loads of different powers. Monster Girl,
love
Rex
Monster
makes
Girl.
an absolute dick of himself.
Yeah,
and that's what I think. In the first episode, the last episode where we met him, I was a bit like, he's just a bit of a dick and I don't like the character. And it wasn't until this episode I was like, he's brilliant. He's gone past the point of being a bit of a pain in the arse to being so much of an idiot that he's really enjoyable to watch. I think before the tryouts he's cheated on Eve, hasn't he? Because he was going out with Eve.
Yeah, with duplicate.
He cheated with 4 different Kates.
Yeah.
In the shower because he thought Eve was cheating on him with Mark. So the team that gets put together is the New Guardians. It's basically the teen team without Eve because she doesn't want to be in the team with Rex anymore. And then we get Shrinking Ray and Monster Girl, who's brilliant, and Black Samson, who used to be a Guardian but he lost all his powers. So now he has like a kind of like a mech suit type thing, but like a small version to give him like strength, or I assume super strength.
Yeah.
Mark goes on a date with Amber, but he's constantly having to like skip out on dates through the whole series, and he has to go and fight Doc Seismic at Mount Rushmore with Eve. And Doc Seismic's dead good. I thought he was quite funny. What is it when he says he's like a bit of banter with Eve, and he says he says something along the lines of like, why are you wearing a pink costume or something like that. It's very demeaning for you to be wearing a pink costume as a woman. And she says, I thought you were a doctor of seismology. And he's like, well, actually, I did an undergrad in sociology and women's issues. And I also took a term in African dance or something like that. It's just like, it's so random.
And then he bounces off with the seismic thing like it's like he's on a pogo stick. It just made me laugh so much.
It was good. Just that tiny little bit of like, dialogue in there, just like little. So it's not a comedy, is it, as we said, but there are some absolutely brilliant moments in it. And then we see the Mauler twins, who got put in prison in the first episode. They escape, but someone's let them escape, and we find out it's Robot who's helped them escape. And one of them dies. One of them sacrifices the other one to get away, basically. And then I think at the end of the episode, it's not as big of an ending as the previous two, but I think it'd be quite tough to do that. Damien Darkblood shows up at the Grayson's house and starts asking Debbie questions. But then Nolan, when he gets back, he can sense, because it's like the air goes really cold, doesn't it, whenever he's around, because he's a demon, and he can sense that he's been there. Episode 4 is called Neil Armstrong, Eat Your Heart Out. There's a bit at the start of the episode where Red Rush's widow hires Debbie to sell her house. And then there's quite a lot about that, because she's obviously like struggling with the fact that nobody cares, and she's just been like left by the GDA now that her husband's died. And then Cecil asks Nolan to go and protect the first manned mission to Mars, but he says no. He says, I need to stay on Earth. I can't be going away for that long. It's a 2-week mission. So Mark steps up and says he'll go instead. So they go to Mars, and they land there okay, but Mark's too busy like looking at pictures of Amber on his phone, and he doesn't notice the fact that they get kidnapped by the Martians. So because that's the sort of show it is. I know, he's just like sat there. He's like, oh shit, where have they all gone? And then so they've been kidnapped by the Martian Emperor, and he basically plans to kill them, because there's these like monsters, like parasites on the planet called sequids. And they take over Martians, but if they ever take over a human, then they'll become this like all-powerful force who will destroy the entire universe. So that's why he wants to kill the humans, so that they can't get possessed, shall we say. But Mark escapes with them, but he doesn't notice that one of them gets replaced by a Martian, and then the guy who's been replaced is on Mars and gets grabbed by these sequids, and it becomes this like massive monster controlling them all. And then Cecil, I think later in that episode, that's where Cecil realizes that Nolan has killed the Guardians. I think he's suspected it, hasn't he? But he's like now had it confirmed. But he doesn't want to do anything because they can't beat Nolan. He knows they can't. He knows they won't be able to do it. So if they go and kick off on him and say you've done this, then it's just risking like a war with the guy, and he's basically indestructible. So he banishes Darkblood back to hell, doesn't he? So that he can't, because he won't leave it. He won't leave it alone. He's like, I need to go and sort it.
He reminded me a lot of Hellboy, by the way.
He did, didn't he? Yeah. As soon as I saw him, I thought very, very Hellboyish. He's good. I mean, again, you can pick up on the voice straight away. He's the Gergen from Highlander, but he's done loads. He does loads of voice work. I know Clancy Brown, but he's a good character. I was a bit gutted when he was gone, because that's him gone for the series, isn't it? At the end of episode 4. Yeah. And then you see the surviving Mauler twin, or the Mauler clone, start to build a new cloning device so that he can make another. He can make another clone. And we also see Robot steal Rex's DNA so that he can clone Rex, which we find out later on he wants to create a host body. Episode 5 is That Actually Hurt. So Debbie finds Darkblood's notebook, which he left in her house when he was speaking to her, and she starts suspecting Nolan again, doesn't she? And she finds, I think that's where she finds the suit that he was wearing when he killed.
Sends him on a thing. She knows how long it takes him to get to like Italy and back and stuff. I thought that was quite cool. How
stressful was that?
I know.
Were you getting stressed watching it?
Yeah.
It was horrible. I was like, the fact that she did like 20 minutes on her phone, and she's just like panicking, and I was just sitting there thinking he's gonna get back earlier or something like that. It was proper stressy.
When she saw the vent, and I was like, it's getting too close.
I was
then
she
gets
like,
to the vent, and then she finds something else, and I was like, Jesus Christ, come on, Sandra.
I know.
Debbie.
I know.
Sandra.
I was sitting there it's like, didn't she have like 3 minutes left, and she saw the vent, and I was just thinking, do not open that vent. Tidy up and do it again another day. Just you can't can't do it. But she finds it. Yeah, as you said, she finds the suit. We see also Robot goes to the Mauler twins and asks them to build his clone out of Rex's DNA. And then we have there's like a big story again regarding Mark and Amber, because he keeps disappearing every time they go on a date. He misses like dinner with their mum, and she gives him like one last chance to come and help in the soup kitchen, and he obviously doesn't go, and the reason he doesn't go is because Titan, who is Mahershala Ali, asks him to help, because he says that he's only being a bad guy basically because there's this big gangster called Machine Head who's brilliant. I love the way all his talking was like auto-tuned.
Yeah.
There's this big gangster called Machine Head, and he is basically holding them to ransom, isn't he? Saying if you don't work for me, I know where your family live and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So Mark and Titan go to confront him and basically say leave him alone. But this chip that I think Titan has robbed for him allows him to it's not to predict the future, but he can. The way I saw it was it allows him to sort of like assess every possibility of every moment that's going to happen, so he can sort of rationalize, kind of predict the future without fully predicting it.
It's like the scientific version of predicting it.
Yeah, but he predicts it right, and he knows he's going to come. So he gets this massive team of supervillains ready to fight, and there's a few of them in there, but the big standout is Battle Beast, who's he's like a lion, like a white lion, humanoid lion, who just rips through. So he basically beats Mark to a pulp, doesn't he? Yeah. And the Omni-Man just is flying above, isn't he? Just watching him and just letting him get killed. Why? I read that now from watching the whole series. I read that as a bit of he's testing him to see if he's strong enough to help him. That's what I thought. Overtake the world, basically. I didn't at the time. I was just thinking, what the friggin' hell is he doing? Is he just evil and he doesn't give a shit? But at the end, now from the end, I see it as a bit of a test. And the Guardians now, aren't they? The Guardians roll up and they try and help Mark, but this Battle Beast basically almost kills Mark. Them. Yeah. But we don't really see him again, do we? Apart from a tiny little snippet at the end of the last episode. But I think there's going to be a lot. My theory, I think there'll be a lot to come from. I think we'll see more of him. I hope we do. Because he's brilliant.
Well, I'll tell you at the end anyway, because it'll spoil the last episode.
Okay, that's fine. We'll do it at the end. Yeah. Okay. I bet yours is the same as mine.
Probably.
So he nearly kills a few of them. He nearly kills Black Samson. He nearly kills Monster Girl. He rips her to pieces. Obviously, she's like the monster version of her. And he I'm surprised he didn't kill Mark. The beating that he gives him, to be fair. But he leaves, doesn't he? Because he's like, I wanted a proper fight, and you're all pathetic. So he just walks out and leaves. And then the GDA roll up and they rescue Mark and Black Samson and Monster Girl, and then they arrest Machine Head. And then they test. I can't remember where it happens in the episode, but Titan. It then turns out that Titan. This was all planned by Titan to get rid of Machine Head so that he can run the criminal empire. So he's now the lead gangster supervillain. Yeah. And then Mark in hospital, they're trying. Obviously, the GDA are trying to save Mark, but they're also testing his cells or testing his blood. And he's one of them. Somebody says to Cecil that they've done every test they can think of, and there's no way they can find of destroying Mark's cells. Basically, Mark's cells are invincible. So from a cellular level, he's living up to his name. And we obviously know that's because they want to test him to see how tough he is, because he's clearly thinking at this stage, we need to get this guy on side in case Omni-Man goes completely bonkers, which he does. Spoilers. He does go completely crazy. Episode 6 is I enjoyed this one. This was You Look Kinda Dead. So Mark makes up with Amber because doesn't he say he's been hit by a bus?
Is this the college episode?
This is the college episode. This was good. This was good. This one, wasn't it? I thought it was going to be a bit. When it opened, I thought this is going to be a proper Freak of the Week episode, and it's not going to lead anywhere. But it was good. I love
William. I think he's a brilliant character.
He didn't really have much to do until now, though. No, I thought.
No, but as the gay best mate, I just thought he was hilarious all the way through. All the little isms that he's got and stuff like that, it just made me howl.
Yeah, he's a good character, and this really sort of opened him up and gave him a bit more depth. So Mark and Amber have made up. They go with William to meet. Is it like his ex-boyfriend?
No,
Rick?
it's not. No, it's not an ex-boyfriend. I think it's like a casual thing that they've had or something. And he's going to see him again.
Right.
At college, and it's hilarious.
It is good. Yeah. Did you pick up on who was voicing him?
No.
It's Jonathan Groff, who is Kristoff from Frozen.
Is it? Oh, okay.
It is, yeah. I had to check it online because I listened to it and I was like, Groff. I know this voice from somewhere, but I can't pinpoint where it is.
Jonathan Groff is also a big musical person as well because he's done.
Is he?
Yeah, so he was in Spring Awakening with Leah Michele, and they were both also in Glee as well.
I didn't know Jonathan Groff was in Glee. It was in Glee.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jonathan. Yeah, he came into it a little bit later from a different school.
Oh, right, okay. Well, proper digressing as we always do, but
yeah,
I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that. I just thought he was just like he'd been like randomly picked for Frozen. You know, he's good. He nails it. Like that song he does on number 2, the Lost in the Woods, is brilliant.
Yeah.
With all the reindeers singing.
And he was most recently in Hamilton. He did the stage
version
of
Hamilton.
As well? Yeah, he's
okay.
King George III. Is it the third?
I've not seen this. I've not seen it.
He's King George anyway, and it's absolutely hilarious. He's brilliant. And he was also in that serial killer series, and the name of it's just gone completely out of my head, but it's on Netflix, and he's really good in that as well.
Okay. No, I've never seen him in anything else, but yeah, he's good. He's good. He's good in this as well. He's a good character, and he's quite funny at the same time. So when they go to the university, and they all get the uni gets attacked by this cyborg who apparently in the comics and they don't think they ever get mentioned by name in this, but it's a reanimen that they're called these type of beings, and he's been created by this character called D.A. Sinclair, which is Ezra Miller. Who's obviously the Flash. He's brilliant. I know obviously there's been like a little bit of controversy around Ezra Miller, but he's good, isn't he? You could the way he does the character is really good as well.
Yeah.
So this cyborg attacks because he's been created by this D.A. Sinclair, and he's escaped because he's left him with too much brain power or something, and. Mark has to like save the day, but the cyborg ends up killing himself. But Amber's annoyed because as far as she's seen, he's just ran away. When all the shit's kicked off, he's done a runner and tried to get away and left them all. But William the time figures out he figures out that Mark is invincible, but Amber isn't having any of it and dumps him. And then we see Rick gets kidnapped by this D.A. Sinclair, and he gets turned into one of these Reanimen as well. So William tries to go and save him on his own because Mark won't help out because he's trying to get Amber back or something, and he nearly gets turned into one himself, doesn't he? He starts to operate on him. So Mark shows up and he tries to fight them, but there's 3 of these cyborgs, and he can't. And I think we find out later that Cecil's really impressed with it because Mark can't take these on his own. There's 3 of them, and he can't. He has a good fight against them, but he can't handle them. Yeah. And the only reason he manages to survive is because William talks down Rick, because there's obviously still something in there, and he manages to sort of get him to stop trying to kill Mark.
But again, this is where the comedy comes into it, because he's talking about like the sex that they had and stuff like that. Yeah. It's not a remember how much you love me and stuff like that. It's like remember that good shag that we had.
Was it like in a bush or something like that? Did he say?
Yeah, it's something ridiculous. Made me absolutely howl.
Yeah, it is good. It was good. So Cecil shows up and he says I'll look after them and we'll give them the help that they need, all that sort of stuff. But he's really impressed, isn't he? He's like, I can't believe these things managed to take down Mark. And then I think towards the end of the episode we jump to Debbie. So she takes the suit to Art, so Mark Hamill's character, Nolan's suit, and they basically confirm at that point that Nolan's killed the Guardians. Obviously Cecil already knew, but this is when Debbie and Art really figure it out. So Debbie confronts Nolan and says, well, I know you did it, and he basically says you don't understand, doesn't he? You don't understand why I had to do it and need to explain, but she doesn't have any of it. And then Robot's is like at Monster Girl's bedside, and to a degree Black Samson's, but it's then you sort of realise that Robot, who isn't a robot, we know by this point, is sort of fallen for Monster Girl, who is only a kid, but she's really like, did she say she's like 26? She's just like trapped in a 20, kid's body.
No, what happens is every time she transforms into the monster, it makes her younger.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
remember now, yeah.
she used to be called Monster Woman, but it wasn't appropriate because she now looks like a 12-year-old.
Yeah, but how isn't she like in her 20s really or something?
Yeah, she's 25, 26, something like that.
Sound okay, cool. But yeah, so he's like falling for it, and he goes on like some mad mission, doesn't he? I can't remember if it's in this episode or the next episode, but he goes on some like mad mission to get like engulf Spain or something.
He sends a drone to do it.
Yeah,
it's not him. You get
but when it's him. But it's him.
It's like another make of him.
It looks like him.
Yeah.
Because when it comes back and it's like in bits and it's like dying on the floor,
I was like, what the hell happened?
Shit, Robot's dead. Yeah, I thought I've missed something. I was like, have I fallen asleep at some point? Because I was watching it like I think it was up to like 1 o'clock in the morning or something, and I was like, I must have for a second I was like, I must have fallen asleep and missed like a whole 15-minute arc here of robot fighting something, and then you realise that it is just a drone. We see at the end of the episode as well, we see the Mauler twins dig up Immortal's corpse, and they're doing it so that they can have him as like a minion with a control collar. So they're basically they've got their own superhero, and they're going to control him with one of these control collars. And then I think at the end as well, we see Eve, who's like gone out on her own now because she's quit the Guardians because Rex cheated on her, and she basically leaves home, leaves school, and says that she wants to go out and create a better world. And then we're at episode 7, the penultimate episode, which is where it all properly kicks off. It's called We Need to Talk. So it's Debbie's left Nolan at this stage, and she's gone to hide at the GDA with Cecil. And they're basically spying on Nolan, and he realizes that there's like a load of GDA people at the house opposite, and he goes in and he just wipes them all out, doesn't he? And he kills Donald. We haven't talked about Donald yet. Donald, who's like Cecil's like right hand man with the glasses. Yeah. Who looks like what's his name? He looks like the kid off King of the Hill. Have you seen King of the Hill?
Yeah.
Doesn't he look like a grown up version of the son?
It does, yeah.
Is it Bobby Hill? Something like that. He looks. As soon as I saw him, I was like, he looks like him. But he kills Donald quite gruesomely. He's like rips him, doesn't like put his hand through his spine or something and like rip it out. And then I think so. Donald blows himself up to try and the house up to try and kill Nolan, but it does absolutely nothing. Doesn't even make a dent. I think Cecil says that should knock him out knock him on his arse for a couple of hours or something. And then the smoke clears and he says, or potentially do absolutely nothing, because he's just standing there like it's not even affected him. And then in this episode is when we see the whole cloning thing with Robot. So they've got the new body, which is it's like a younger version of Rex, and he doesn't transfer, does he? Creates a clone. Because I think one of the Mauler twins says, you do realize it's not going to transfer your consciousness. It's going to create a clone of you. So there will still be, he says to Rudy, which is like, who is like this like little deformed guy in like a tank. He says, you'll still be you. There'll just be another version of you. And he's like, I'm happy with that. And then the new Rudy kills him, doesn't he? Under the first one's orders, he says, I want you to kill me and go and live a proper life. Yeah. And then he betrays the Maulers because he says, I'm going to take you back to prison now. And he's got this like massive mech. Doesn't the van turn into a robot? And he fights the Maulers to try and put them in prison. Yeah. I think so, yeah. And then the control collar, we find out I think a little bit later on, doesn't work, that he's given them, because he has to go because Cecil calls him into the Guardians. So he goes to the Guardians, doesn't he? And that's really awkward. Rex is like, what the hell am I looking at? Because there's just like this kid version. There's just this kid version of Rex, and he's like proper like taken aback. It's like, what have you done, sort of thing. And he explains himself, and I think Monster Girl gets onto it at that fact, doesn't she? Says he's done this for me. He's created a child version because she's a child, and he wants to be with her. And then what happens then? Cecil. Oh yeah, so Cecil sends in the Rick basically sends Rick in, doesn't he, to fight Nolan, and the other Reanimen. And then he also sends in this kaiju, who I don't know if we saw him in the previous episode, but we heard about Nolan fighting a kaiju. So he's like modified this kaiju, so to try and kill Nolan. And then I think while he's fighting them, that's when we see Mark tell Amber that he is invincible, thinking she'll forgive him if he realizes that she's a superhero. But she's kind of already got onto it, and she's not impressed at all. And she just basically dumps him and says that you've basically been lying to me this whole time. You should have told me you were a superhero. So he goes off to Eve for, I think, a bit of pity for her to say, oh, don't worry, you've done right. But she's not having any of it either. She's basically saying, you have been a dick, you should have told her, basically. And then they fly off and they end up intercepting Omni-Man fighting the kaiju, because I think he's killed the cyborgs at this stage. So I think Eve wants to help, but Cecil says no, go back to Guardians HQ. And then Nolan and Mark end up killing the kaiju, and then all these TV crews roll up in helicopters, and I think that's when Mark gets onto it. He gets onto the fact that something's wrong, doesn't he, at the end of that episode? And then I think the episode ends with Nolan saying to Mark, we need to have a talk. And when we got to the end of that episode, I mean, we'll to a bit of a review, my level of hype at that stage for the series was massive. I was like, this is built up, and going into the finale, I was like, this is going to be absolutely great. And we'll go through it, but I was a little bit disappointed by the finale. What did you think of it?
I wouldn't say I was disappointed by it. I think because I understood why they've done it the way they have. Like, as I said at the beginning, they weren't putting too much of a cliffhanger on because they didn't know how it was going to be received. Yeah. So if they'd have what they've done is kind of left it open in a way that it could come back very easily.
I get you.
For season 2, but at the same time, it does prepare you for something because it means he's coming back. But what I liked was that the way they film, the way they've done the shots, to me, shows that they're showing you. These are the people who are going to be prepared to come and help Earth fight, so that it stops this whole basically the entire
who are they? You mean like Alan the Alien and the Coalition?
Yeah. So
I get what you mean.
And something that got me was the fact that the White Lion guy, what was his name again?
Battle Beast.
So when Battle Beast said that they weren't where the opponents and he was leaving, that's made me think that there is going to be a massive fight between him and Omni-Man.
Yes, I agree. I think that's where my theory is going to a degree.
That's where season 2 is going to go, and there's at some point, whether it's the ending of the series or whether it's kind of a mid-series fight or something, that there is going to be a battle between them two.
Yeah, I think
because he so easily destroyed the Guardians at the time,
and Mark.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I think that was the whole point of him saying about the where the opponents. I think where the opponent is Omni-Man, and that's going to happen at some point.
I don't think it's. We'll go through theories in a bit, but I don't think it's just going to be Omni-Man either, at all. I think there's going to be a few people for him to fight. Should we go through? We'll do a quick breakdown of the last episode then. So the last episode is called Where I Really Come From. So it starts off with Nolan revealing to Mark basically that he lied about Viltrum. To a degree, I mean, it is they are an elite race, aren't they? Who've created this massive, perfect planet, but not through everybody helping each other. They've basically done a bit of a Thanos. I saw it as they've wiped out half of their own population, so that only the strongest are still alive. And then rather than helping other planets, they've decided to go and take over the entire universe and create this massive Viltrumite empire. And Nolan's job, he explains, rather than his job being to go and help other planets and make them all perfect, his job is to get in there and completely weaken the planet from inside. So to infiltrate the Earth, basically get in there, kill all the Guardians, which is what he's done, because they were probably the biggest threat to the Viltrumites if they do come and try and take over. So he's just trying to make it as weak as possible so that it's as easy to conquer as it can be. And he wants, now that Mark's got powers and he's been training him up, he wants Mark to help him and join the Viltrum empire. But from the start, which I thought was quite good, I thought we'd go through this whole thing of Mark toying with the idea and being like, should I help my dad or not? He doesn't at all, does he? He's just no, you're wrong. There's no way he's going to join in. And I think it's when he says what, don't you love mum? And he says, well, I do, but kind of like a pet. And it's just
oh my god,
sends him off. I was just I know it's a cartoon and it's a superhero show, but I was just that is, and then it's not dark in the sense that it's really gritty. It was just dark.
Do you know what really upset me? That she could hear everything.
Oh no,
that. That broke my heart a little bit for her. I'm not gonna lie.
I know. Yeah, 100%. And he says she doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. She doesn't matter.
And she actually breaks down.
Thousands of years. Yeah, I know. Yeah. And he says they live, they age. The older they get, the slower they age. So they'll all live for thousands of years. So she won't be alive. You know, for his life, she's only alive for a fraction of it. And so Mark's not having any of it. And that's when they have this huge, I say, fight. Basically, Mark just gets leathered by his dad, doesn't he?
He just gets his ass handed to him.
But this is probably one of the.
But like, he totally does it. Like, do you know what it reminds me of? It's like a domestic abuse situation. Now, stay with me because it is dark and deep.
No, I get it straight away.
It's the whole fact of he absolutely destroys Mark. He beats the shit out of him. Yeah. But he does it. He takes him to the most populated area to do it, to cause as many deaths as possible, to then tell him that was all your fault. Yeah. And it's that he does, like that whole reverse thing, and he's basically made out that Mark is the one that's killed all of those people.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Like that.
I didn't get that at first when I watched that last night, but I mean, I know, and I got the fact that he said this is all your fault. Yeah. But I didn't sort of read it as, and I think you're right. Now that you're saying it, I think you're absolutely spot on. But I didn't read it as that was the reason for it. But it does make sense for it to be he's done that purposely to destroy all these people, rather than it just being it happens. So I'm going to blame Mark.
Yeah. Well, it was the whole thing of Mark saying, you know, that these people's lives matter. And because he knows that, he's used the fight to kill as many people as possible, so that Mark gets the blame, so that Mark feels the guilt and responsibility for all the deaths of them.
Yeah, no, I get that. And it's dark. It is dark.
It is very dark.
It's right. And this is, I don't think that's entirely why. This was the big issue for me of the episode. This whole thing. This whole sort of like, 5 minutes where he's just beating Mark up and all that sort of stuff and killing loads of people. This was the part of the episode that I had the biggest issue with. And I think that kind of, what you've just said sort of explains a little bit of it away. Yeah. And I might be completely on my, and I know I am completely on my own because different people, not completely on my own, but people will completely disagree with this. You might, some of the listeners might, because I know people are into this type of film, but I don't like or appreciate or see the point in films or TV shows that just show gratuitous violence for no reason. And I think there's some films where it works and it helps with the story and it's the only way you can do things. But I feel like when I was watching this, I was a bit like, this, not the general idea of him, like, you know, killing people and, you know, and blaming it on Mark, because I get that now. Yeah. But I thought it was OTT. I thought it was a bit unnecessary, and it was just like, let's just whack in as much blood and as much murder and killing kids. And like when the building comes down and Mark's just got this mum's hand and the mum's clearly died and the little girl's clearly died. And I just thought, you could have, and I know it's an 18 and I know that's kind of where the show's been going, but I found it a bit of a step too far and unnecessary when I was watching it. And again, people will think I'm wrong. I'm sure some people will think I'm right and go, do you know what? Yeah, I hope some people think I'm right. I might be on my own, but I just think it was a bit.
I understand it from your point of view, but I also understand why they did it.
I don't think it was necessary. Now that I didn't think any of it was necessary at all at first, I'll be dead honest. Yeah. But now that you're saying, the way that you've put it across, like the domestic thing, like he did it he purposely killed thousands of people to make Mark feel bad. I get that, and I'm on board with that. I feel like it was too OTT.
Making a point. So that first of all, you've got the whole idea that how many people have just died and he didn't flinch. Okay, and you've got Mark sobbing his heart out because he's watching all of this unfold around him, and he cannot stop it. So it's also showing you initially that power struggle. Omni-Man could just come to Earth and destroy Earth within 5 seconds. We watched him do it with another planet. And I think what he's trying to portray to Mark is that they are gods in comparison. Basically, it's the whole god complex.
They don't matter. All the humans don't matter.
Yeah,
at all.
And I think he's saying, look, dead. That you're going to live for thousands of years. Everyone around you is going to die anyway. What does it matter whether it's now or in 50 years? And I think. Yeah, it's it is very OTT. It's very dark. It's very graphic, and there's a lot of it. I think that the mum and the kid in the building, I think, again, kind of going quite deep into it, I think that was supposed to be a little bit reflective of Mark and his mum at this point.
Yeah, potentially, yeah.
Because they're now
He wouldn't have thought twice about if Mark hadn't had powers. He wouldn't have thought twice about killing. Yeah,
and it's how vulnerable it makes them in the process. So,
and I get all that, but I think that it was, and it's probably sound like a whimper, but it was unnecessarily graphic for me. I think it was just it took it not massively too far. I just think it went a little bit too far, and it was very reminiscent, which is of. And that shot at the end where it was like he was just pounding on Mark's face and it was like teeth out and blood everywhere.
It was horrible, that, yeah.
But it was, and I know it needed to be hard to watch.
Yeah.
But I just found the whole thing a little bit of a step too far, and I'm all right with it. It's like I've seen some films, and not many, where it's like it was bought. It's like the Saw films for me. I don't get them. I think the first one was all right, but then after that, and these films like Hostel and stuff, it's like it's just like murder porn. That's what it is. It's just like there's no story. There's no purpose to it. It's just let's just be as vile and as vulgar and as violent as we can be. And I don't get that or appreciate that. But then I see other films and it's like, have you ever seen Doctor Sleep? With Ewan McGregor. That is dark and it's bloody and it's very, very violent to the point where I was a bit like, when I was watching it, I was like, this is like really rough, but it progressed the story and it was necessary to the story and I was all right with it, even though it was quite hard to watch. And I feel like this was almost okay, but it was just for me a bit OTT. But that last shot where he's like where Mark's like there, and we'll go back onto the story. But the last thing I'll say about it is, did it not just remind you of Glenn? When he got killed by Negan, and it is Stephen Yeun with the eye popping out and all that sort of stuff. I was like, it's just, I'm surprised no one's made a meme of it yet. I was going on through Twitter this morning waiting for somebody to have done a picture of Glenn in the Invincible suit.
You should have done it. I'm surprised you haven't done it yet.
I'm surprised I haven't done it yet, but I've been busy watching a whole series of Invincible in a week and assembled. But it just really reminded me. It really reminded me of that. But anyway, back to the story. So he's beating him and he's about to kill him, isn't he? And I think he starts remembering about like Mark as a kid and like Mark with no teeth when his teeth are falling out because he's a kid, and then he sees him with no teeth falling out. And I think the bit that gets him is when you said then, who's going to be here? In 500 years, none of these people will be here. Why? Who will you have? Yeah. What is the point? And he says, I'll have you. You're my dad. I'll still have you as somebody. So we don't need to do this. And that's obvious. That's what sends Nolan off the edges in like I can't kill him, and he flies away and you see the tear sort of drop into space, don't you? So he's obviously and it's the first time you've ever seen him be like emotional. Yeah. Even I feel like every other bit of emotion that you've seen from him through the whole episode has been faked. And anger, but like anytime you've seen him be like not a completely bad guy, it's all you could see it as like it's always been to carry this facade as I'm a superhero. Yeah. And he doesn't really get like, even when he's been like trying to be nice with Debbie, he doesn't really give a shit. Like he's just said, he sees her as a pet and she doesn't matter. But this is the first time that you've seen him from an emotional point. And this might be, I'm proper digressing, but this might be completely unintentional and just to show, and just like I'm picking holes, but I noticed that fight you didn't really see it with Mark, but with Nolan, when he's like beating Mark to a pulp and he's basically going crazy. Yeah. Did you notice that the animation around Nolan changed to being like quite messy? Because it's the animation all through this has been really sharp and really well done, but in that whole fight, the animation around Nolan seemed to be a bit shit in my opinion, and a bit like, not sharp and not very good. I wonder whether it's intentional. The first
time he was really losing it.
I wonder whether it's intentional. They've made the animation look a little bit crazy and a little bit not as tight because he's lost it. He's not in complete control anymore. That's what I was going to say. Like he's the because again, the first time you're seeing kind of anywhere close to real emotion to him, and it's probably the first time he's had any emotion in decades. And he's not in control.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what it is.
Yeah. So we've either just got really deep into that, something that they intended, or we've just picked holes in the animation, the animation department of Invincible. So he flies away anyway, and then the rest of the episode is basically it's wrapping up. So the Guardians and Eve help to rescue and start rebuilding the city. Eve obviously still isn't in the Guardians, but the team of Guardians have sort of finally become a team. Cecil helps to cover up what's happened, so he says Nolan's died in the explosion over the road. He fakes the funeral. He sends like doubles of Mark and Debbie to the funeral so that it doesn't look like Mark's the one who's been beaten up by his dad.
Yeah.
But obviously Debbie's still struggling, so she goes and has a drink with Art because she's not really got anybody else, has she? She's not got no. She had I think the only friend was Olga, which was Red Rush's wife, and she's gone.
Yeah.
Mark ends up back with Amber, and Hare and William both find out about Eve's identity, and this is the bit that made me laugh in the diner because she sits there and she goes, when Mark goes because Cecil calls him, and she sits there and she goes, well, I think I better tell you I'm Adam Eve. And they go, oh, are you the one who copies herself and makes multiples? And she's like, no, I'm the one in the pink. And they're like, oh, all right, yeah, sound okay, nice one. And it's like, she's at the very start of the episode, she's like, I don't have to wear a mask because it's so psychological that people don't expect to see a superhero. And it's like, people just don't know who you are. It's like you think you're this big superhero and no one has a clue who you are, love, and that's why people don't recognize it. But I thought it was a bit harsh because it's like, she is probably one of the most powerful.
Look more different.
Exactly. But she's like, she's I think there's going to be a lot to come from her, from Eve. She's a big character, and I don't think they've given her like a separate arc through the show, and I don't think they would have if there wasn't going to be a lot to come.
Yeah, the whole thing of her leaving home and her parents hating that she's a superhero and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm quite. I don't know what happens in the comics. I've got a bit of an idea as to things that happen from like a little bit of research that I've done, but I think she does become quite a big character and potentially get her own comic book or got her own comic book, but I think there'll be a lot to come from her. So the reason Mark leaves is because Cecil detects that something's coming towards the Earth, something big. So he says, Mark, I need you to go and fight it. And it's Alan the alien. It's Alan again, Seth Rogen, and he basically says to Mark, there's a Viltrumite on your planet, and they're coming to take over. And Mark obviously knows what's happening, and he seems quite surprised that Nolan's just left, because he says like they don't just leave, they're very stubborn, they will stay until the job's done. So the fact that he's left,
it's the first time in history that they're aware of that it's happened.
Exactly, yeah, because I think he says like when they couldn't defeat us on our planet, even though they basically killed most of us, they just destroyed the planet. So the fact that they've just left is really, really weird. So there are Viltrumites coming to your planet, they're gonna be on the way, but will you help us with the coalition to stop them? And that's the first time Mark actually says like yes, because it's like every time Cecil's asked him to do something, it's been a bit like, I'm going because I have to. Yeah. So it's the first time he seems like up for the fight and up to help. And then the end of this, and then very end, we get flashes of like characters that we've seen. So we see like loads of supervillains prepping and creating armies. So we see like Titan with some like dude who turns into a dragon. That I assume that's someone from the comics. Yeah. I think we see Battle Beast about to fight a load of people, and we see Doc Seismic, who we thought was dead, who's now got this army of like rock lava monsters. Love it. And then we see Cecil, who's got this army of Reanimen now, who I assume, because they were the only things that seem to be able to stand up against to any degree Omni-Man, to sort of create a bit of an army to fight the Viltrumites. But yeah, and that was it. So as I said, I think that for me the series, as we said already, was great. I really enjoyed the series, but I did find the finale a little bit of a letdown. I don't think it was as big or as climactic as I thought it was going to be. But I think if I didn't know for certain we were getting, I think we all knew we'd get a season 2 because it was quite well received. But if we weren't getting a series 2 or 3, or we didn't know for certain we were getting it, I'd be a little bit more disappointed than I am. But I think because I'm viewing it as this series has been set and laying the groundwork, and it's not about giving you an ending. There wasn't an ending to the series, and that's probably why I feel like a little bit disappointed. But I don't feel like it was supposed to give us an ending. It was supposed to set up the main story in season 2 and 3, which I think is going to see them all come in. The Viltrumites all showing up to Earth. But in general, I said slow start, but I really enjoyed it. What do you think? All spoilers you can do now. What are your thoughts?
I actually did really enjoy it. I did think it was slow at the beginning, and I thought it was a little bit of hard work to start with. But that twist intrigued me at the end of episode 1. Apparently,
apparently, I'm not lying. It was episode 1.
I know. But so that because that kind of took my interest, and I was like, oh, well, where is this going? then I was more into it, and as you've got to know the characters that little bit more, I just love them. I just think they're fab, and again, I think that's part of winning over, because you know who a lot of them are actor-wise as well, so you're already invested because you want to see how they do it within the series. The ending for me, I quite liked, because it was the whole, well, what are you going to do now? Go to college? Like,
yeah, that's it, isn't it? Yeah.
I kind of love that, because it's the whole idea of he's got this massive thing weighing on his shoulders now of what's to come, but he's just like, well, I'm just going to go to college. I just think it's brilliant, and I think
try and have a normal life.
Yeah, I think it's going to lead into that kind of balancing of the two, which is quite a typical superhero genre, isn't it? It's balancing your personal life and then having to have the secret identity and all of that kind of stuff. So I liked it because there's been a lot of action already, but it's set you up for something that's going to be much bigger to come, and you know that because of the fact that something has happened that's never happened before. So I'm quite excited to see what will happen next with it, to be fair.
I am. I think
really good.
I am as well, but I think if it was, that's what I say. If I didn't know for certain we were getting a series 2, I'd be a bit not necessarily disappointed, worried that we were going to have like another Alcatraz, like we said before. But I agree. Should we do thoughts and theories? Should we move on to thoughts and theories? So we've not had a ton of people get in touch, I'm assuming, because not everybody's watched it all yet, Invincible, but we have had a few people get contact us. So with about Invincible, We Needed Roads on Twitter, they said that they absolutely loved the finale, and they think it's the best thing that Kirkman's done. So they think it's the best thing that's come from Robert Kirkman. Wow. I'd say, do you know what? I think it needs
4 series ago on Walking Dead, I wouldn't have agreed.
but now, well, I mean, I'm not we've lost, me and my wife have lost sort of, not interest in Walking Dead, but we've not kept up with it, because it just went a little bit slow for us. And hopefully this isn't going to be the same, but I think I'm not convinced. Me personally, I get where they're coming from, because you know, I think depending on what genre you're into and all that sort of stuff, but for me personally, it's not quite there yet, but it's getting there already. After one series, it's getting to the point where it could end up, in my opinion, being the best thing from Kirkman, definitely. Should we do? I think the next one is theories. I mean, you got a theory from our mate Nate.
I have, and it's a Marvel theory rather than a Invincible one.
Fire away.
So he's talking about kind of where things are going as the overall story arc. And so what he's under the impression of is that Phase 4, the main villain is going to be Kang the Conqueror. And then that way it sets up for the Dark Avengers as the main villains. He also reckons that it'll set up Galactus as the universal villain.
Galactus.
Yeah.
And Galacticus.
Did I say Galacticus?
Galacticus.
Oh, sorry. Galactus.
My name is Maximus Decimus Galacticus.
Sorry, that's my reading skills just went to pot.
Right.
Sorry.
As soon as you said it, I just pictured Russell Crowe stand there in front of Joaquin Phoenix.
It's like,
with
it's
the big Galactus
Bob Hoskins
head
as Wolverine all over again.
Sorry, go on.
Then Phase 5, the Masters of Evil as Earth villain.
Okay.
And then on to Phase 6, which will then kind of like really bring in the Dark Avengers and Galactus main villains.
Okay, he's planning ahead, isn't he?
He then says, as much as I want Phase 6 to be Secret Wars, I now believe that isn't coming yet. Possibly Phases 7, 8, and 9.
Bloody hell! Do you think we'll get to? Thanks, Nate, for sending them over. Do you think we'll get to that stage with MCU, or do you think it'll get old?
I don't know. I'm worried that it will get old.
Yeah.
I think maybe if after the next kind of couple of phases, like if they get to Phase 6, maybe then take a break.
Do you think? I think, because I don't think Disney. I think they potentially made this mistake with Star Wars. I think that when they get to the point where people start getting fed up with it, I think they need to wrap it up rather than letting it get to the point where no one's interested anymore. If you get what I mean, don't let it go shit. Have a definitive right. We are going to end this at the end of Phase 6. I mean, I don't want it to. I hope it carries on for years to come, and it stays fresh and it stays good. But realistically, it probably won't happen. People will, times change. At the moment, superheroes, and they have been for years. That's why we're doing a podcast, and there's hundreds of podcasts and YouTube channels and stuff like that. At some point, it will become old hat, and people won't be that interested in it. Yeah. So I think then, whether we get to phase like 7, 8, and 9, hopefully, but I think I've digressed slightly from what he said, but I hope that they wrap it up and give us a definitive end.
We might be collecting our pension by phase 9, so we
could be, because it's it's taken for 12 years to get through the first 3 or something like that, isn't it? So it's but I'm optimistic about the future of the MCU, but at the same time a little bit not concerned, but cautious about it. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
But thank you. Thanks, Nate.
Cheers,
for
guys.
Getting in touch as always. Have you got any theories on Invincible, Anthony, or anything else going forward?
I mean, as I say, the main thing for me is that there's going to be a massive fight between Battle Beast and Omni-Man.
I think it is. Yeah, that's kind of in line with my theory. I think spot on. I think there'll definitely be a fight between Battle Beast and Omni-Man. But I think, like when we've seen, particularly in the episode, we've seen Titan, we've seen this dragon guy, we've seen Doc Seismic with all these lava monsters. I think that when these Viltrumites come, I don't think it'll just be. It's not. I think it's quite obvious. It's not just going to be Nolan coming back on his own if he comes back at all.
No, there's going to be a load. I think
it's going to be a ton of them.
I don't know, because I don't know whether he's. Because again, they've made a point of saying nobody has ever just left a planet before.
Yeah.
Is he going to be seen as a failure? So
that's what I'm thinking. Is he going to get back to Viltrum and they're just going to top him?
So there's 3 ways that could go. Either they could top him for being shit.
Yeah.
They could go, okay, they're battling harder than we've may have ever experienced before, so let's take a team in and all go together.
Yeah.
Or they could top him and then just go themselves, and it'd be a totally new group of people.
I don't know what happens in the comics.
I don't know. I have no idea.
What I do know is that this series hasn't, like Walking Dead doesn't follow the comics exactly. This series isn't already following the comics either. So if whatever happens with Nolan in the future in the comics isn't necessarily going to happen with this, so I don't think anyone can I think people can predict, but no one's going to know what's coming.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if he got back, because of the way the show's sort of happened so far, if he goes back to Viltrum and they just kill him and go, you're crap, you've not done it, you've not you're not done the job.
Does he not go back there and sort his head out before coming back on his own to try and finish the job, so that he doesn't go back as a failure? Maybe, but I think the way that they're clearly a very ruthless race, so it wouldn't surprise me if they just killed him. And I think the other thing to take away from it, but I'm not even at my theory yet, but the other thing to take away with Nolan is, and I've seen some people talk about this potentially on Twitter, but trying to make sense of it in my mind, you've got these from what Nolan said, these Viltrumites have all been sent one at a time individually to go to a planet and weaken it from within and then take over the planet. You've got Nolan, who's been sent to Earth, and then you've got, I assume, another one who will have been sent to Alan the Alien's planet. And I can only assume that, I mean, I might be sort of like, overestimating, but how strong Alan the Alien is, I would imagine that his whole race are that strong. And like they took over, I think we see them taking over like the Flaxans, or a planet of like similar to Flaxans, and they're all super powerful as well. So what I would read it as, these other Viltrumites who've been sent to these other planets have been sent to much tougher planets than Earth. Yeah. So is Nolan even amongst the strongest Viltrumites, or has he been sent to Earth because it's not that much of a challenge because no one's anywhere near as powerful as Viltrumite? So could we end up with loads of Viltrumites rolling up and they're all like 10 times stronger than Nolan? Yeah, you could end up with a ton of them. And I think what will potentially happen with my theory around Battle Beast is that, and us seeing all those different villains at the end, I think that Mark is going to have to try and recruit them.
And he's going to end up having to get these guys on side, including Battle Beast, and we could end up
have a kind of Suicide Squaddy type situation where it's all the villains coming together.
No, I see it as a bit of an Endgame situation where, like, at the end everybody rolls up all to fight this Viltrumite empire, and Battle Beast could end up in some way. I mean, it's a dark series, but it wouldn't surprise me if by the end Battle Beast had turned out to be some sort of like anti-hero, and he had like a mutual respect with Mark rather than, I'm only doing it purely because I want to fight. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that'd be quite interesting if we can, because TV series do that, don't they? They get like someone who's like the main, well, not the main villain, but in some cases they do. Someone who's a big villain, like Spike. Like we don't like talking about Joss Whedon, but like, you know, similar to Spike in Buffy, he ends up, he starts off in the series as one of the big bads, and by the end he's part of the team. So that's my theory around Invincible.
Like it.
It's been a long episode, this one, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's a lot. There was a lot to talk about.
We went through 8 episodes and the Assemble as well. To be fair,
we did. Should we wrap up? So, yes. Thank you for listening. If you want to get in touch, there's loads of ways you can do it. You can go to the website, that's superherothing.com. There's a contact us page on there. You can leave us all our like Twitter links, Facebook links are all on there as well. But you can leave us a voice message. So if you've got any questions for us, any thoughts or theories about anything upcoming, DC, MCU, Invincible, leave us a message on there and we'll include you in the show. You can also contact us on Twitter at Superhero Thing on Twitter. I mainly run the Twitter page, or you can contact us on Facebook, which is basically run by Anthony, at that Superhero Thing on Facebook. And you can email us. I've never said about the email, but if you just want to send us a question rather than everybody seeing it on like Twitter or anything like that, ping us an email. It's info@thatsuperherothing.com. And then the last thing to say about getting in touch is, again, thank you for everyone who is listening. We are massively surprised and taken aback about how many people are listening to us. It's very, very humbling. If you do enjoy it, please do leave us a 5-star review on Apple or wherever you listen to podcasts, because it really helps us get discovered.
It does.
By more people. Should we haven't really talked about this, Anthony. What are we doing next week? we've got ideas, haven't we? So I think what we're gonna.
Do you know what I mean?
Go on.
I think we've had a few requests to look at an old superhero movie.
Yes.
And review it, and I think we should. I don't know which one yet. Maybe we can talk about that over the next few days and make a decision, and then do an announcement midweek or something.
I think what we should do, and you tell me no. This is how prepared we are, listeners. Okay. We are literally deciding what we're going to do next week on the podcast. I think we should try and get the listeners to decide what we do. So we'll put a poll, in my opinion, on Twitter and Facebook with a couple of basically should we call them not well received comic book movies, and we'll put it up for a couple of days, and you guys decide what you want us to listen to. We'll put a couple on there that have been requested already, but you can either enter the poll and let us know which one you want out of the ones that we're recommending, or if there's something completely different that we've not mentioned, drop it in the comments or leave us a reply, or get in touch with us on any other ways and let us know what you want us to talk about. Also next week though, there's a few new series coming out. So there's a new Star Wars series called The Bad Batch coming out. That'll be like a weekly release, I would imagine, on Disney Plus. So I'm sure we'll talk about that. And then we've also got Jupiter's Legacy coming out next week as well.
Yeah.
So we will definitely I would imagine, with it being Netflix, the whole series will drop in one go. We'll see how we go. We'll see what it's like. We'll see what it's like. But we'll definitely break down at least the first episode of Jupiter's Legacy, and then
sounds good.
We can carry on from there. But yeah, thank you from me. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll speak to you next week.
Thank you very much, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.